Mo Xianghua has never been in touch with family affection. The old man's expectation is something she doesn't understand at all. Yan Beicheng has known since childhood that if she wants to sit on the throne, she has to be fraternal. How can she pay attention to an old man's idea? In this way, both of them suddenly realized. Then, they looked at each other and laughed. Mo Xianghua pursed her lips. For half a month, she was so relaxed with a smile. You and I are not as transparent as Qinya thought. Yen North City also self-mocking smile, eyes across a touch of dark color, I also rarely contact. That's another similarity between you and me. After the flowers on the street have laughed, they can't help whispering. Unknowingly, they had already arrived at the place where the carriage was parked at the gate of the palace. Before the boy who was there had time to move down the stool, Yan Beicheng suddenly stepped forward, picked up the flower on the street and put it directly on it. Mo Xianghua had no time to exclaim. She was already sitting on the carriage. Yanbei City long legs a step also on the carriage, toward the flowers pick lips a smile. The couple had a good time. They pitied Qinya. Looking at the carriage in front of them, they wanted to cry. In the end, the boy put down his stool and Qinya Kai came up slowly. Inside the couple, Qinya sits outside the carriage with the boy, and doesn't plan to go in and continue to be poked. Sitting in the carriage, Mo Xianghua was relaxed and comfortable. Although she was reprimanded by the Empress Dowager today, fortunately she was finally relaxed. Her smile seemed to be infectious, which affected Yan Beicheng's mood and made him feel better. He looked at her with a smile on his lips. Mo Xianghua and Yan Beicheng looked at each other for a moment, rarely took the initiative to lean on his shoulder, voice down again. However, I'm afraid the days in the future will be more difficult. Now even Lin Xiangyin and Yan Moli are totally in the same mind and against her. Although Princess Li and others don't have great skills, they have great ability to mix water. Princess Shu can't play a big role alone. Yan Beicheng raised his hand to hold the thin shoulder of Mo Xianghua, and his voice was low. Not only the inner palace, but also more blood storms in the future. After a pause, he said, The Emperor is more and more urgent to take the elixir of immortality recently. I still put it according to the previous proportion, but he is not satisfied. He invited some warlocks to the palace to make pills. The flower eyebrows on the street slightly frowned, so, I'm afraid it's a way to die. Wait, didn't you dissuade me? For a long time, the position of your national teacher was only unfavorable. Yan Beicheng is extremely confident to pick the corner of his lips, half of his eyes are sarcastic, half smile. You just rest assured, my position will not easily shake. Don't forget, Yan Senshuan was forced away by me. Mo Xianghua knew that he was just joking, so he deliberately demolished his platform. Don't talk nonsense, it's clearly his own practice to leave the palace. Yen North City dropped Mao to see a bosom can be angry but cold person's son. In Mao but suspiciously flash over some jealousy, that rather know to have no time Imperial City? Of course not yet. Mo Xianghua shakes his head and says casually. Yan Beicheng was stirred up by this sentence and said, What is nature not yet? The Emperor and Yan Moli can't hold him anymore. Why doesn't he leave? Look at you. For a long time, Mo Xianghua had already found out his temperament and couldn't help chuckling. It's reasonable for him not to leave. Since January, I haven't been there anymore. All the news came from Hua Qianlu. Seeing the attitude of Mo Xianghua, Yan Beicheng felt a little less jealous. He hummed and closed Mo Xianghua to his arms. Yan Beicheng, when did you learn the skill of guessing the 8 trigrams of astronomy and geography? I don't know. It's easy to see these things. Talking big again. Mo Xianghua smiles and leans in his arms. He only feels that although it is hard now, the years are so gentle. Ling Wangfu not long after Lin Xiangyin sat down, Yan Moli broke in directly, and even the maid who informed her would have time to come in. At the moment, Yan Moli's gentleness was completely gone. On such a handsome face, it was full of melancholy and anger. Lin Xiangyin only looked at it, and her heart shrank. All down. Yan Moli is to return Lin Xiangyin to keep some face, did not attack directly. The next people all see something wrong. They dare not stay for a second. As soon as they listen to Yen Moli's instructions, they run down. All that's left in the room is Yen Moli and Lin Xiang. Lord, I'm not good at everything today. I can't finish what you told me. Don't be angry. Lin Xiangyin carefully raised her eyes to Yen Mo and said softly. Originally, what happened today was that Yen Moli and Lin Xiangyin discussed with each other and asked her to try to make the Empress Dowager unhappy. It's better to be reprimanded, but she messed up everything and was still so shameful in full view of the public. Yen Moli forcefully clamped Lin Xiangyin's shoulders on both sides, and his handsome face looked gloomy as if he could drip water. Lin Xiangyin, the king has already told you what to say. Why can't you even learn to speak well? Do you know that all the people who have been told about your disgrace today are aware of it? Even the king is disgraced because of it. Lin Xiangyin had never seen Yen Moli look so terrible. She had a look of fear in her eyes. Wang Yi, no, cousin, I didn't mean to. Don't do this. I'm afraid. Yen Moli, who had been so gentle to her in the past, now evaporated in the world. As soon as she released her hand, she was out of control and stepped back. Yen Moli Mao in but don't have the slightest pity of color, cold voice Wei. This king really shouldn't believe you. This word stabbed into Lin Xiangyin's heart like a needle. Her pretty face turned pale. Cousin, what are you talking about? You still won't forgive me? But as you know, she is eloquent, and I'm not her rival at all. Besides, she was reprimanded by the emperor's grandmother in the end, and I didn't screw up the matter. As he spoke, he became more and more aggrieved, and his eyes filled with hot tears. However, Yen Moli did not see it, and there was no temperature inside the eagle's eyes. The purpose of my king is to make the Empress Dowager dislike you, not to be reprimanded with you. What's more, do you really think that you can achieve your goal by just giving a reprimand? That's naive. Such a cold appearance, Lin Xiangyin heart pain, tears along the pale cheek flow all over her face. Cousin, I'm wrong, I'm not good, you don't like this. He just glanced at Lin Xiangyin coldly, then walked away directly. Tomorrow morning, you will go to the palace to plead with the emperor's grandmother, and then you will stay in the house to reflect on yourself. Don't be shameful when you go out. So said, his heart has begun to calculate another way to deal with the flowers on the street. It's such a thorny problem that if you don't get rid of it every day, it's a huge hidden danger. He brushed away, but Lin Xiangyin was as if she had been pierced by thousands of sharp blades. She was powerless to the ground, full of grievances and heartache. She couldn't help crying. How could his cousin, who was always so gentle to her, become like this? It's clear that he loved her like a treasure before, but it's just better for her after marriage. Except for Lu Qianqian, who was unexpected before, there is no other concubine in the house. Now the big marriage is only 4 months, even half a year. Why is it like this? It's flowers on the street. It must be her. Today's various, all because she will become today's appearance. Cousin will treat her like this. In fact, there is her in my cousin's heart. It must be because of the fact that she is against my cousin everywhere. Thinking about this, Lin Xiangyin seemed to find the source of things, and finally got up, with a strong hatred in her eyes. In the quiet suburb, a man covered in a wide black cloak stood opposite another man who was slightly tall and also wrapped tightly. They reached out and followed some people who were wrapped tightly in black. The man with a little shorter body opened his mouth first, and his voice was slightly old. Your Majesty's body is getting worse day by day now, and His Royal Highness Ling still can't get the holy favor again. The man at the top of the hill said with a smile, this is the end of his family's fortune. Did the people who spied on you and me some time ago catch you? The short man was obviously not as happy as he was, and asked in a low voice. Hi, a person's cloak will be the bottom of the mood temporarily down, said, don't worry, people have already caught and solved, things will never be revealed. It's better to be cautious. The short man is obviously more stable. We can't act too fast now. We are good at fighting when they are both defeated. In that sentence, this matter must not be disclosed to the third prince. His temperament will certainly show his feet. Don't worry. After a few words, They separated in a hurry and went around in different directions to return to the city. It wasn't long after Mo Xianghua and Yan Beiqing returned to the palace that the lady sent her own female official to come. The female official was as calm as a lady. She was especially polite when she met Yan Beiqing and Mo Xianghua. "I've seen your Royal Highness, Princess Yu." Mo Xianghua nodded gently and ordered Qinya to help her up. Qinya is very considerate and tactful now. She helps the woman official up with a smile and says, "My sister has gone to this trip." That female official also friendly smile. Originally want to rush to take a message before the princess goes out of the palace, didn't expect or slow some. Qinya is smiling, just want to put a purse in the past according to the usual rules, but Mo Xianghua gently shakes her head, she immediately retreats to one side. This female official is so considerate in her work, and she is also taught by the lady. I don't think she will accept it easily. It's a nuisance. Mo Xianghua stepped forward 2 steps, with a polite smile on her lips. I don't know if Lady Shufei has any sign? The woman officer did not dare to neglect, but corrected her face and said, Lady Shu asked her maidservant to report it on her behalf. Today, she is just angry with the Empress Dowager's temper. Please go to make amends tomorrow morning, and she will be forgiven by the Empress Dowager. After a pause, the female official lowered her voice. The lady asked Her Majesty to be benevolent and filial. Now the wind in the palace has changed. Now it's up to the Empress Dowager. The female official said goodbye with a smile. The lady's words are here, and the maidservant will leave. Wait a minute. Mo Xianghua suddenly called the female officer, eyes light shining. Lady, is there anything else you want to say? The female official's eyes flashed, and she glanced around, obviously with some scruples. No one here will know, just say so. When Yan Beiqing saw this, he simply began to explain. Your Majesty has become more and more irritable recently, and his spirit began to be bad at night, and he recovered the next day. The female official said cautiously, This is what the lady said to her 13 Highness. Her Highness asked her maidservant to repeat it quietly and asked her Royal Highness to keep it secret. Presumably, it was Shufei who was worried that the incident would cause chaos. The flower on the road is clear with the chest. See the female official's eyes particularly sincere. Thank you. Princess, please don't say that. I can't bear it. It's getting late. Please let Her Royal Highness have a rest earlier. Believe. The female official lowered her head and stepped back slowly, and soon disappeared. Mo Xianghua and Yan Beiqing looks at each other, and there is a flash of thinking in each other's eyes. Things may change beyond their knowledge. The next morning, Mo Xianghua entered the palace, and the Marquis was in front of the Empress Dowager's palace, waiting for the Empress Dowager to summon him. To some surprise, Lin Xiangyin was even earlier than her. Lin Xiangyin is not a person who can hide her mind. She lost such a big face yesterday. Now when she sees the flowers in the street, she just presents herself according to the etiquette and has no words. Her white cheeks also with a touch of green shadow. A pair of eyes are still red and swollen. Qinya sighed in the heart a rightful, toward the Mo up flower new mouth, let her see together. Mo Xianghua slightly droops her eyes and stands upright in front of the Empress Dowager's palace. Yu Guang sweeps Qinya's expression and quietly raises her foot and gently kicks her calf. The ladies in waiting outside the door, who seem to be looking down, are actually quietly watching. They must be cautious in their words and deeds. Qinya was so clever that she remembered that she was in the palace now. She immediately hung her head and clubbed in the same place. The Empress Dowager was upset yesterday. Today, she will not be put in easily. Mo Xianghua and Lin Xiangyin stood outside for an hour before they could see the Empress Dowager in the inner hall. Today's Empress Dowager is still leaning on the bed as she was yesterday. Her mother is waiting on her to drink medicine. When they come in, they don't even lift their eyelids. Mo Xianghua and Lin Xiangyin knelt down together. Granddaughter-in-law greets the Emperor's grandmother and the Emperor's grandmother Jinan. The Empress Dowager, who was drinking the medicine with her eyes drooping, only released one hand and put it at will. She continued to drink the soup in the bowl and put Lin Xiangyin aside. Lin Xiangyin was obviously very worried. Seeing that she was left out in the cold, she didn't dare to ask questions. She just hung her head and bit her lip. She was afraid that more words would irritate the Empress Dowager. Mo Shanghua thinks quickly in his brain, and also stands with a low brow. After the Empress Dowager had taken the medicine, she still ignored their plans. She talked to her mother about her family and left the two princesses in the air. Lin Xiangyin was more and more worried, and the handkerchief in her hand was pinched and changed. Mo Shanghua didn't pay attention to Lin Xiangyin, but felt that it was not the way all the time. She simply took the initiative to say, "Grandmother Huang, my granddaughter-in-law came here today to apologize for yesterday's incident." Then he knelt down with his skirt. "My granddaughter-in-law acted recklessly yesterday and annoyed the emperor's grandmother. She knew she was guilty and didn't dare to ask for her forgiveness. I just hope that the emperor's grandmother didn't have to forgive my granddaughter-in-law like this and keep her anger in her heart." After a pause, he said, "Sullen and depressed, it's bad for the body. The granddaughter-in-law dare not harm the emperor's grandmother. If you want to find fault, you can't find any." Naturally, Lin Xiangyin is not as clever as Mo Shanghua. She only knows that if Mo Shanghua kneels down, it's not good for her to stand so foolishly. She kneels down too busy. "My granddaughter-in-law has come to ask for forgiveness from the emperor's grandmother." The Empress Dowager's eyes only glanced at Lin Xiangyin and then fell on Mo Shanghua. "It's a pity that you are eloquent and sharp-mouthed to please me." The flowers on the street drooped their eyes, neither humble nor arrogant. The emperor's grandmother is the granddaughter-in-law's elder, so granddaughter-in-law should do this filial duty. Lin Xiangyin was only afraid that the flower in the street would snatch everything she wanted to say. She hurriedly said, "As the daughter-in-law of the heavenly family, son's daughter-in-law should abide by filial piety. Only in this way can she set an example for the world and not lose her royal face." The voice fell, but the Empress Dowager recognized Lin Xiangyin's words more, and her face softened. "Get up first, don't kneel all the time." Then, looking at Lin Xiangyin with satisfaction, "You're right. As a royal man, you should always keep your royal face in mind. If you always have to be unreasonable and make things easy and make people laugh, where is my royal face?" Lin Xiangyin quietly breathed out a breath and turned her eyes to look at the flowers on the street. "Just stand up on the street flower, smell speech and kneel down. Granddaughter-in-law no wrong. Also ask the emperor grandmother punish." Seeing this, the Empress Dowager sighed helplessly. "Well, your child is just as miserable as the fifth child. Get up and your family is no longer upset." But she didn't show any thanks on her face. She stood up again with her eyes down in front of the Queen Mother's bed. Her posture was very elegant. She was the best parenting mother, and she didn't make mistakes. The Empress Dowager looked at Lin Xiangyin on the other side again. "Recently, you are very tired because of mourning for your family. The princes have also worked hard. You should take good care of your husband in the mansion. You should learn to take care of the overall situation and not be impulsive." Son's daughter-in-law obeys the instruction. The Empress Dowager began to teach in person. As her granddaughter-in-law, she and Lin Xiangyin had to be taught obediently. The Empress Dowager was just about to make them kneel down, but Lin Xiangyin suddenly raised her head and forced herself to smile. "Grandma, my granddaughter-in-law has brought you some excellent velvet antler, and some dongyijiao, which is rich in Lin County, to nourish you." The Empress Dowager naturally had no reason to refuse. She said with a smile, "You are a filial child." Then he turned his eyes and looked at the close mother who was waiting beside him. "You go and get the jadeite bracelets of the mourning family." The mammy answered and soon went down. Although the Empress Dowager was angry before, she gave them all face. The only one who served in the house was the mother. Now the mother went down, and there were only 3 of them in the house. The flower on the street was not aware of the difference, and there was a sense of shame on her face. Yuzhou is remote, and her granddaughter-in-law really has nothing to give to the emperor's grandmother. Please don't blame her. Qinya glanced at her master's face full of shame, and her lips could not help but draw. Not long ago, Emperor Baorong rewarded many good things. Before going out, she asked specially, but Emo Shanghua responded boldly, what good things are there in the Empress Dowager's palace? Think of here, Qinya can't help but sigh, his master is really dark. If she had been as sober as yesterday, she would have made a few sarcastic remarks. Today, it seems that her whole body and mind are trying to win back the Empress Dowager's favor. Seeing that the Empress Dowager was in a good mood, she boldly stepped forward and stood beside her bed. Grandmother, your spirit is getting better and better day by day. You can recover within half a month. The Empress Dowager leaned on the soft pillow, with a gentle smile on her face. You are such a sweet child. How can you expect to recover at my age? Then he took the handkerchief and coughed softly. Seeing this, Lin Xiangyin hurriedly took the dirty handkerchief from the Empress Dowager, folded it and put it aside. Emo Shanghua didn't plan to go forward, but Qinya was eager in her heart and kept winking at her. She knew that Qinya was for her own good, so she didn't want to avoid it. She also stepped forward, but before she could speak, her eyes stopped at Lin Xiangyin's fingertips. Noble women like to keep long nails, and they dye them with cardan to show that their fingers are long and white. Lin Xiangyin is no exception. It's just that people's nails are slightly transparent when they are long, and they don't look blood red when they are dyed with cardan. They just look more transparent. But Lin Xiangyin's long nail is not like this. The extremely beautiful dyed cordon has no sense of penetration. It seems that the nail is blocked by something. If ordinary people may not be aware of it, but in the eyes of Emo Shanghua, who uses poison all the year round, it can be seen at a glance. She didn't know how many times she used this method. Lin Xiangyin is still considerate to take out her own handkerchief, reaching out to wipe the Empress Dowager, but Emo Shanghua grabs her wrist and pulls her to stand up. Lin Xiangyin's nervousness could not be suppressed anymore. She clenched her sleeve tightly with her other hand. Her eyes were erratic, but she still strongly supported and angrily scolded, "Flowers on the street, in front of the Emperor's grandmother, what do you want to do?" The Empress Dowager was also startled by the sudden action of Emo Shanghua, and she angrily scolded, "Princess Yu, what are you going to do in front of the sad family?" Emo Shanghua didn't look at the Empress Dowager. She looked at Lin Xiangyin, who was still strong and calm. "There's poison in your nails." Just a short sentence. Let Lin Xiangyin do. Calm heart suddenly burst, her face almost instantly faded clean, mouth has not said complete words. I don't, you spit. Emo Shanghua directly pressed her wrist on the bed, palms up, and the delicate white powder between her fingers immediately appeared in front of her. The Empress Dowager's face changed greatly. Her flabby skin almost shook up and she called out, "Come on, come on." But for a moment, the mother who had just gone rushed in first. Waiting to see the situation in the house, there was no time to ask, so he turned back and yelled, "People, didn't you hear the Empress Dowager call someone?" As soon as the voice fell, most of the servants in the palace came in a hurry. After all, the Empress Dowager had just recovered from a serious illness. How shocked and angry she was, her voice was not as good as Mammy's full cry. Seeing all the people in the room and the Empress Dowager in front of her, she said calmly, "Go and ask a doctor to come first." Seeing that no one moved, the Empress Dowager also said with an iron face, "Listen to the instructions of Princess Yu." The mother immediately called for the imperial doctor, and then came forward on guard. "Princess Yu, what are you doing?" Emo Shanghua's eyes lightly looked in the past. "Princess Ling has hidden poison, intending to murder the Empress Dowager. You should ask what Princess Ling wants to do." The whole hall clean all startled, including that Mammy inside of all people all can't believe of looking at Ling imperial concubine. The old face of the Empress Dowager was full of anger. She was so angry that she coughed and trembled. How could she think that her granddaughter-in-law, who was smiling in front of her the other second, was hiding such thoughts? Empress Dowager! The mother rushed to the front of the collapse worried, and the flower on the street also dragged Lin Xiangyin to open the way. The Empress Dowager trembled and pointed to Lin Xiangyin. Her mouth seemed to be blocked by thick phlegm. She couldn't say a word. But for a moment, She turned her eyes and fainted. Naturally, the palace was in chaos again. Emperor Baorong, who was dealing with government affairs in the imperial study, came to the palace with his concubines and princes. Naturally, half of the people in the Thai hospital were also announced to the Empress Dowager and treated her with great care. Baorong Emperor drove all the other concubines back, leaving only Shufei at his side. Besides, the princes were waiting together in the outer hall. Lin Xiangyin was caught on the spot by Mo Shanghua. Now she was kneeling in the hall with a pale face. Yan Moli, as her husband, is also extremely unlucky to be involved. He kneels with him and lets the other prince's eyes fall on him. The atmosphere in the hall was very dull. People could not breathe more slowly. They were afraid that the wrong words would make Baorong Emperor angry. After waiting for 2 hours, near noon, Lu Zheng walked out of the inner hall exhausted and knelt down in front of Baorong Emperor. "Tell your majesty that the Empress Dowager is safe now, not poisoned, but angry." Before waiting for Emperor Baorong's temperature, he would answer all the questions he might ask one by one, but the Empress Dowager had just recovered from a serious illness. Now, under such stimulation, her illness has taken a turn for the worse, and she still needs to take care of herself. Baorong Emperor's face was not good. After hearing these words, he raised his hand and dropped his teacup. His chest fluctuated violently. All the princes held their breath and did not dare to speak. Lu Zheng wanted to say more than that. He didn't seem to feel Emperor Baorong's anger. He continued, "The powder hidden by Princess Ling has been found out. It's arsenic." Baorong Emperor's face was slightly convulsed with anger. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing look at each other quietly, but what they think is that what Shufei said is true. Baorong Emperor used to be a relatively clear emperor, but now he seems to be getting confused with his age. As for Lu Zheng, they are not worried. Baorong Emperor will never touch Lu Zheng. Sure enough, they just changed their mind, and then they saw Shufei patting Baorong Emperor's chest. "Your Majesty, this matter has nothing to do with Liu Yu doctor after all. Please calm down." Baorong Emperor's face relaxed a little. "You go down first, I won't be angry with you." "Thank you, sir." Lu Zheng spoke softly, got up and stepped down. The imperial doctors in the hall were still dispensing medicine. Baorong Emperor rubbed his forehead and looked at Lin Xiangyin and his wife in Yanbei City kneeling in the hall. With the power of the emperor, his eyes fell down like a jack. Yan Moli felt the pressure of the top of his head. He couldn't lift his head. His lips were tight and his body was particularly tight. Lin Xiangyin's heart is much more fragile. Under the gaze of Baorong Emperor, her body can't help trembling. Only by pressing her lips can her upper and lower teeth not touch each other and make a sound. "What a Princess Ling! Who gave you the courage to murder the Empress Dowager?" Sitting in a high position, Baorong Emperor gazed coldly at Lin Xiangyin in the hall, and his killing intention was boiling in his eyes. Lin Xiangyin's body trembled violently, her eyes turned red instantly, and she choked and trembled. "Erqin is not intentionally." Originally, she wanted to find a reason, but she could not find a word to prove her innocence. In the face of his wife who has been shaking like chaff sieve, Yan Moli turns a deaf ear to it, and has no consolation. Father Huang, Lin is usually timid, and can never do such bold things. Someone must be instigating behind his back, and ask Father Huang to be aware of it. Although there was no consolation, Lin Xiangyin was comforted, grateful and moved to look at Yan Moli. Yan Moli felt Lin Xiangyin's eyes, but he said colder and colder, "You don't make things clear. Who are you instigated and framed by?" Lin Xiangyin suddenly responded. Her eyes turned around and swept over the flower. She didn't want to say, "Yes, it's the flower on the street." Yes, that's her. Yan Mo scolds a fool in the dark. Before he has time to open his mouth, the flower on the street has caught a cold glance, and the corner of his lips is full of sarcasm. They all say that the dog jumps over the wall in a hurry. Is the second emperor's sister-in-law in a hurry to find a scapegoat now? Don't forget that I caught you on the spot. Lin Xiangyin bit her lip and looked at her eyes full of hate. Flowers on the street? It's you who have hurt me to the point where I am today. You are the source of all this. Emo Xianghua is defeated by Lin Xiangyin's logic. She turns her head and ignores it. It was her design that allowed Lin Xiangyin to marry Yan Moli, but she also got the happiness she wanted for a period of time. After that, the evil consequences were all due to her evil thoughts. How could she blame others? Lin Xiangyin can't manage many things at all. She seems to have caught the straw and has a certain confidence in her words. Father, this matter is that the stranger encouraged me. Then she deliberately broke me down in front of the Empress Dowager. It's clear that she wants to take the opportunity to ask for credit and trap me in injustice. Said, she seems to have even convinced themselves in general, crying Kowtow, Father, please make the decision for me, return my innocence. Baorong Emperor's face was heavy, and he never opened his mouth, but his eyes glanced at the flowers on the street. Knowing that she couldn't avoid it, Emo Xianghua stood up by herself and bowed slightly. Tell my father and emperor that my son had a good relationship with the second emperor's sister-in-law, but it was before the second emperor's sister-in-law came out of the cabinet. Yesterday, my sister-in-law and I had a dispute in front of my grandmother. Everyone in her palace can testify. After that, my son went back to the palace. It was not until this morning that I met his sister-in-law outside his grandmother's palace. What's more, I didn't say a word. How can I instigate her? My father and sister-in-law have no basis for their words. They just want to pull others into the water to be punished. Emo Xianghua explained things one by one in an orderly way. Baorong Emperor's face, which had sunk down, was completely cold. Lin, now you still want to frame others. You are really an unforgivable poisonous woman. The idea in the heart is seen through on the spot, and Lin Xiangyin's pretty face is no longer colored, and her body is paralyzed. In desperation, she looked at Yan Moli kneeling on his side, and couldn't help pulling into his sleeve, tears in his eyes and opening, Cousin, you saved me, I didn't mean to, I really didn't mean to. I just want to frame up for yesterday's things, I just want to make you happy, in order to make up for the feelings before you and me. Lin Xiangyin was full of bitterness, but she could not express it in her mouth. She only looked at Yan Moli with hope. Emo Xianghua didn't brush her hand, but she didn't look at her. She bowed down. It's about the royal face. Please take it easy. There was no excuse for her, so she pleaded guilty for her. Lin Xiangyin, a heart, straight fall eye seller, pull Yan Moli's sleeve of hand slowly loosen. Emperor Baorong snorted coldly, and gave an order directly and coldly. Lin Xiangyin intends to murder the Empress Dowager. She is guilty to heaven. Someone comes to shut her up in the imperial palace and wait for her release. In front of so many princes, the sick Empress Dowager was still lying in the inner hall, so Baorong Emperor could not be biased. Even the powerful Donglinhao family behind Lin Xiangyin is useless. Lin Xiangyin's pale face was filled with deep despair. She was paralyzed on the ground and even forgot Shane. No matter how desperate she was, Yan Moli pulled her to kneel down and said, Thank you, Father Huang Long En. Lin Xiangyin kowtowed mechanically. Then, a bodyguard came forward and escorted her to the Zongrenfu. After Baorong Emperor ordered, he went to the inner hall with Shu Fei to visit. He didn't have time to see her for a second. In this way, Lin Xiangyin dared to take a look at Yan Moli, opened her mouth and wanted to say something. 1,000 words rolled into her throat, but she seemed to be caught in a net. Finally, she couldn't say a word. I thought that all her tears had been exhausted. At this time, she could not help but look at Yan Moli with tears streaming down her face. Cousin, please take care of me. I'll be back soon. Don't worry. With such a look on her face, Yan Moli didn't even give any money to Yu Guang. He went directly past her and entered the inner hall. His face was cold. Lin Xiangyin thought that even if he fell to such a situation, Yan Moli still had her in his heart and would worry about her. Never thought that he was so unkind. All of a sudden, her whole heart seemed to be crushed and in pain. The pain of losing status and being so guilty is less than 1 in 10,000 at this time. Looking at Lin Xiangyin, who was taken away in despair, and Yan Moli, who had no expression on his face, a very strange feeling surged up in his heart. He couldn't help turning his eyes to Yen Beiqing. Yen Bei layer along her just vision to turn a circle, the heart suddenly feel bad, busy clenched her hands. Princess, let's go in to see the Empress Dowager. Strange flowers in the eyes did not disappear, but also did not ask, nodded and did not say much. Yen Zhenxuan's eyes looked at the empty situation in the hall, pursed his lips and turned into the inner room. The smell of medicine in the inner hall was several times stronger than before. When Fang entered the hall, the flowers on the street could not help frowning. The Empress Dowager on the bed has not woken up yet. Her old face seems to have a few more wrinkles. She looks more and more haggard and old. Baorong Emperor sat in front of the collapse and looked down at the Empress Dowager on the bed. He couldn't see any emotion in his eyes, but his white hair was dazzling. I don't know how long Baorong Emperor can survive like this. Just thinking Bento has come true. Only to see, just now also launched anger, full of gas Baorong Emperor, unexpectedly no sign of straight toward the ground fell down. Thanks to Yen Beiqing's quick eyes and quick hands, he stepped forward and held Baorong Emperor so that he would not fall down. He cried out, "Hurry up, pass on the imperial doctor." Everyone in the room was completely flustered, and everyone was in a panic. In just 1 hour, the Empress Dowager fell ill again, and the news that Baorong Emperor also fell ill spread all over the palace. Some important officials who knew the inside story all entered the palace at this time, and the Marquis was waiting outside the palace. At that time, Baorong Emperor was still in a coma. All the princes were blocked outside the hall, and Lu Zheng and other imperial doctors were the first to treat Baorong Emperor in the hall. No one is in charge of the palace, and Xu Fei has no backbone in her heart. Your Majesty and the Empress Dowager have fallen ill one after another. There is no one in charge of the palace. If you want to come here, we'd better ask the Empress to come out. Although Li Fei and others are upset, they have no second words when they mention the Queen. In fact, not only Xu Fei, but also the ministers outside the hall. It's just that they can't see the situation inside the hall and can't speak. At this time, Hua, who was in the inner hall, had a chance to speak and said, "Your Majesty said that she wanted to ban the Empress for half a year. All the affairs in the 6 palaces should be handled by the Empress. How can she be regarded as a person without the responsibility? Say, then direct Hang Mao to make respectful state. Still ask Shu Imperial Concubine Empress to play spirit, preside over overall situation." Words come out, but no one agrees. Even Xu Fei was full of fear, holding the hand of the flower on the street, and said, "Princess Yu, the Queen is the one who is right. Our palace is just a little concubine, so we can't be the winner. Empress Lin has been suffocating for such a long time. If she comes out at this time, how can she make everyone have a good life? If so, the first chance will be in the hands of Empress Lin and Yen Moli. Perhaps, whether Baorongdi can wake up will become an unknown. In this way, we can't ask Queen Lin to come out. Think of here." Mo Shanghua clenched Xu Fei's hand, eyes burning stare at her. "Xu Fei Nyang, Your Majesty's order does not change, is really want to ask the Queen Yang to come out, also want to wait for Your Majesty to wake up again." Xu Fei seems to understand something from the eyes of flowers on the street. She calms down a little, but she still can't answer. Unexpectedly, as soon as their words came down, the eunuch's report outside the door rang. "Here comes the Queen." Outside the hall, the voice of the prince's greetings came out faintly. "The flower on the street has turned pale and sneers in my heart. It seems that Empress Lin must have great influence in the palace, otherwise she would not have got the news so soon. She's also a lady. She's too soft. She has also been in the palace for many years. If she has any ambition, she can directly order people to block the news and strictly guard it. Then there will never be Empress Lin's day today." As soon as the thought in her heart fell, Xu Fei's face changed again. Suddenly she felt that she had just risen, and her mind was guilty. She stepped forward and went out to meet the Queen. Seeing this, all the concubines had to get up together to greet each other. Mo Shanghua looks at the back of all the concubines. An idea in her heart suddenly flashes. Instead of following her, she quietly enters the emperor's bedroom. At this time is a special situation. There are guards outside the bedroom palace. As soon as they see flowers coming from the street, they immediately stop the way. Mo Shanghua stood upright and looked coldly at the guard. "Didn't you hear that the queen arrived? My princess is the empress who came to see your majesty's condition first." The sleeping hall where the emperor lived was rather gorgeous, and the inner hall and the sleeping hall were all self-contained. The two bodyguards could only vaguely hear the voices of a few women, but they could not see who was speaking. However, the queen could hear clearly when she arrived. She looked at each other and let go. The flower on the street was carried into the bedroom as usual, and there was no panic on her face. "See, Empress, Empress, thousands of years, thousands of years." They are still thinking about how to invite the queen's important ministers and the princes to attend the ceremony together. Free flat. Empress Lin dressed in bright yellow palace clothes and combed her hair meticulously. She was very dignified and elegant. "Although the palace is forbidden, I heard about the great changes in the palace. I have to ask you for your understanding. Empress of a country, so put face, ministers naturally have nothing to say." Liu Bohan, as a prime minister and the head of 100 officials, said, "The empress, in order to keep the court in order, has to show up in the forbidden foot and take the responsibility of disobeying the emperor's orders. This is the great righteousness, and the officials can only admire it. The Eastern Marquis is white-headed and white-haired, and he is still full of zhongqi. I can only admire and move him, and no one dares to say more." The other ministers agreed. Xu Fei's temperament is soft. Yan Beiqing had expected such a result for a long time. She was not half surprised. She just stood up and didn't say a word. Yan Zhenxuan also did not say a word. Yan Emoli had been gloomy for a day, and he just got better at this time. He had a chance to win and was eager to try. Xu Fei and others came out at this time. When they saw Empress Lin, they bowed to salute directly. Concubines and concubines have seen Empress. In front of all the ministers, Empress Lin would not attack naturally. She was very virtuous and went forward to help her up one by one. "These days when our palace is not here, you have worked hard to take care of your mother and your majesty. You don't have to be polite." Xu Fei, Lai Fai and others are all concubines who have been immersed in the palace for several years. Their acting skills are first class. Seeing the empress like this, they all cooperate with each other. It is the duty of concubines and concubines to take care of the empress dowager. It's the empress's sincere heart to rush here at the risk of the world's great injustice. I feel inferior to her. The queen is the most virtuous and considerate person. Yan Beiqing was not interested in listening to their hypocrisy. He glanced at the crowd with quick eyes. He didn't see the flower on the street. His eyes flashed slightly. Did she have another plot? Empress Lin exchanged greetings with her concubines, but she didn't embarrass her in public. She praised her a little more. She glanced at the crowd and frowned. "Where is Princess Ling and Princess Yu?" "As a daughter-in-law, how can I not be here at this time?" Empress Lin thought so in her heart, but she didn't know that Lin Xiangyin was already in the mansion. Yan Moli just sent someone to take her out, but in the future, he would have to tell the Empress Dowager about Lin Xiangyin's poisoning. Otherwise, Empress Lin must vomit a mouthful of old blood on the spot. However, it is not too much to say that such a big thing is a royal scandal. How dare people mention it in front of their ministers? For a moment, no one dared to speak. But how could Princess Yu not be here? A few people noticed here, have shown doubts. Xu Fei also found the flower is not in the heart, although doubt, but did not speak. Goodly Fei and others see many ministers here, also all shut up. "Mother." When everyone was afraid to explain, Yan Beiqing suddenly said, "It's not suitable to talk about Heir Huang's sister-in-law right now. I don't want to let Heir Huang tell you later." Yenemo Li's face turned black. He glanced at him coldly and said, "Brother Wu Huang might as well care about her princess. Didn't she just go in with you ladies?" Empress Lin's heart suddenly jumps. She only feels that many things are in great change, so big that she can't control them. Seeing this, Shu Fei hurriedly came forward and said, "Now I don't know what the doctors are doing. The Empress might as well go in and have a look with her concubines?" Finally, she got to the point. Empress Lin temporarily lowered her confusion and nodded slightly. Seeing that Mo Shanghua had not yet appeared, Yan Beiqing continued to procrastinate and said, "Now you imperial doctors are still treating. If we go in so rashly, I'm afraid it will disturb the diagnosis and treatment of imperial doctors." Yan Zhenxuan observed for a long time, but also gently echoed, "What the fifth brother said is very true. If it bothers the imperial doctor, I'm afraid it's not good for him." The two princes both said that they were right. Empress Lin was about to adopt it, but Yen Emoli said coldly, "Mother doesn't see her father for many days, so it doesn't matter if fewer people stay far away and go in to have a look." Yen Beiqing raised his eyebrows, and his lips spilled a touch of coldness. Brother Erwang's words are so light, such as European style. They really disturb my father. Can you bear it? Yen Moli didn't expect that Yenbei City would fight against each other directly. He couldn't help choking and his face sank. Seeing this, Yan Zhenxuan stepped forward and stood in the middle of the two men. His face was as warm as jade. He was slightly embarrassed. "Two brothers, my father is still ill, so we must not start a dispute at this time. If there is a quarrel at this time, it will surely bring a bitter criticism to both of them." Yen Mo Li coldly glanced at Yen Beiqing, turned his head and didn't speak. Yenbei City, half of the handsome, half of the blood-like demonic face is not very volatile, but gently turned his head toward the Empress Lin, slightly bowed his head. "My son lost his word." There are two still neutral to see the move of Yen Beiqing, secretly nodded. "Your Majesty is awake, Your Majesty is awake." At this time, Lu Weng suddenly came out from the inside and reported to you with a happy face. At present, people are not afraid of any taboo, a rush to visit. Led by Empress Lin, Yen Moli followed Empress Lin, Yen Beiqing and the third prince of Yan Zhenxuan also followed. As for Shu Fei and others, they could only be far behind. Those who are pushed to the last place are the most important ministers in the court. As soon as they entered, they were surprised by the scene. Just now I was still discussing the missing flower, sitting in Baorong Emperor's bedroom. Yes, sitting in the bedroom. Lu Zheng is standing on her side, holding a prescription in his hand, drooping his eyes and saying something to her. The rest of the doctors gathered on the other side. And Baorong Emperor has woken up, and now he can sit up. Apart from looking a little tired, there is nothing wrong with him, and his spirit is okay. Empress Lin and Yen Moli both have the same idea. They are both frightened and disappointed. Yan Zhenxuan appeared sincere. Facing his beloved father, he was worried. "Father, are you okay? But what's wrong?" Yen North City and Yen Mo Li also surrounded. Yen North City is actually a lot. Went to Mo Shenghua's side and asked in a low voice, "How can you be here? How is your father's body?" Whether the former is serious concern, and whether the latter is sincere or not, it is not known. Empress Lin responded quickly and walked quickly to the bed. "Your Majesty, I'm relieved to see you wake up." As soon as he finished his sentence, he knelt down and said, "Your Majesty, I'm worried about your comfort, and I'm afraid that some villains will dare to make trouble during this period. I'll go out of the ban myself. I hope your Majesty will forgive me." After Empress Lin, there was a marquis in the east, and he was wearing the hat of risking the world's great injustice. Emperor Baorong could not say anything, but just waved his hand and said, "I don't blame you." Behind the Emperor Lin, there was a deep expression of gratitude. He got up to squeeze Shu Fei and others away and sat down beside the dragon cave. "Your Majesty, how do you feel now?" "It's all my concubines. As a daughter-in-law, I can't serve my mother. You're tired these days." There was a flash of impatience in Emperor Baorong's eyes, and he waved his hand casually. "No need. This is what I should do. The queen can relax." After a pause, his eyes turned around in the room, and his eyebrows and eyes were slightly irritable. "I'm just tired these days. Do you think I'm going to die in such a big battle?" All the people knelt down and did not dare to shout. "Get up." Looking at this scene, Emperor Barong was even more upset. He glanced over the upright Mo Shanghua who was kneeling in the crowd and said, "I'm only so tired this time, but thanks to Princess Yu's medical treatment, I was able to get out of danger and get a reward." The flowers on the street drooped slightly, but they were not surprised. "My son, thank you for your reward." They all got up together, and Baorong Emperor rubbed his eyebrows a little impatiently. "All back. My concubine is leaving." Seeing that Baorong Emperor obviously didn't like so many people around him, they didn't dare to stay there, so they stepped down. Out of the hall, Empress Lin deliberately slowed down her steps and glanced at the flowers on the street. Originally, the palace was still thinking about where you went. Originally, she was summoned by Her Majesty and treated for Her Majesty in person. The flower on the street looked down and kept good palace rules. When I reported back to my mother, my son didn't get summoned by my father. It was just that the situation was critical and my son had to do it. After a pause, he added, "Your Majesty has forgiven my son's rashness." Queen Lin could not pick out any mistakes. However, now that everyone is gone, Empress Lin doesn't want to continue to disguise. All Her Majesty is released. It's a fluke that you saved Your Majesty this time. If you are so bold in the future, you have to bear any consequences. Just came out and wanted to take her leeway? Mo Shanghua's heart is full of sneer. Yan Beiqing is also full of cold. Pull Mo Shanghua behind him, deep and dense with endless dark eyes straight to the Queen of Shanglin. The princess's medical skill is superb. Even the emperor's grandmother almost poisoned is saved by the princess, who dares to question her medical skill. My mother is really worried. When Empress Lin choked, Yenimoli came forward and said with no smile, "The 5 younger brothers and sisters are naturally powerful. Now I'm afraid they're even with the 5 younger brothers." Is this an insinuation that King Yu is eating soft food? Qinya, who is standing behind, swallows her saliva silently. It's really a master's trick. It's fatal. Regardless, if you want to talk about kung fu, Mo Shanghua has never lost anyone. She stood out from behind Yanbei City, with a faint smile on her lips. Since ancient times, there has been a saying that husband and wife are one. No matter the scenery or the downfall, the prince naturally wants to be with me, but I don't know whether the second emperor's sister-in-law will feel lonely and scared when she is alone in the patriarchal mansion. Then he turned his head and looked at Yan Beiqing. "Lord, don't we go to see Heir Huang's sister-in-law later?" Yan Beiqing, a face touched to hold the hand of Mo Shanghua. "The princess is affectionate and righteous, moved by her husband's heart as you wish." The husband and wife sing a song and make peace, both explicitly and secretly demote Yen Emoli to the dust. It's just cold weather. Yen Moli seems to have entered winter ahead of time. He seems to be completely covered by ice. It's not too much to say that the ground is frozen for 3 feet. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing were born together. They just didn't go. They wanted to stand here and disgust him with love. Yen Moli, a big man, was not as clever as Mo Shanghua. He held back his anger and saluted Empress Lin. "Empress Mother, my son will go to Cunning Palace to wait for you. My son will leave." Empress Lin nodded, and her face was a little ugly. "There are still palace affairs to deal with in our palace. Please help yourself." "Mo Hua Yen North City of humble salute, send mother." When Empress Lin walked away, she could not help but smile at each other. It's not only happy for the couple to win the battle together, but also for the tacit understanding of the couple. Such feelings are really mysterious and strange. In the Cunning Palace, when the people were dismissed and Baorong Emperor was not here, Empress Lin was the one who could not agree. At the thought of the way that Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing just looked at each other and laughed at each other, she was very angry. She raised her hand and dropped a pair of teacups. The tea splashed and the tiles fell all over the floor. Yen Emoli lifted the hem and knelt down straightly. "My son is useless. Please punish me." Empress Lin was very beautiful when she was young, and she is still charming when she is now. She has been a queen for many years, which makes her more dignified and dignified. Now she is angry, and she has a lot of momentum. Our palace can't help you for a while. Now a little princess you has climbed to the top of our palace. And what about Eners? Why did Mosher become a hero who saved the Empress Dowager? At the thought of such things, Yen Moli was also very upset. His whole face was tense and silent for a long time. He couldn't talk about the shame of stealing chicken. When Empress Lin saw that he didn't speak, a nameless fire sprang up again and said harshly, "Yen Moli, when did you become so timid that you could be scared by a few words?" Yen Mo tightly clenched his hands on his side. After a moment, he loosened his tight lips and slowly said, "It's my son 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 sons." What Empress Lin suddenly got up, and her eyes were full of disbelief. Did Ener poison the Empress Dowager? She's out of her mind. Yen Mo lowered his head and said in a cold voice, "I can't guess what the princess thought. Now, she has been sent to the imperial palace by her father." After a pause, his eyes showed a strong sense of evil. "Just now in the palace, my father did not look at my son's minister again. I think my son's minister has completely lost his sacred heart. Perhaps, even Yen Beiqing's position in his father's heart is not as good now." The shock on the back of Emperor Lin was immediately replaced by the fury. "This Ener, the palace used to ask you to marry her because she was not very intelligent and easy to control. I didn't expect that she was so stupid that she made you come here. Please take your body seriously, don't be angry." In front of Empress Lin, Yen Moli is a filial son. However, no amount of consolation could change the fact that he had been completely rejected by Emperor Barong. At the thought of this, Empress Lin felt that her chest was straight and stuffy, as if she had a breath blocking her chest. She pressed her chest with one hand and sat back on the phoenix chair. Her sharp voice lowered, "What does your uncle say now?" "My grandfather and uncle are also very anxious, but the situation of my father is not suitable to be mentioned at this time. We can only discuss it in tomorrow's court." Mention this matter, Yen Moli eyebrow head tightly again. "It's urgent. I'm afraid I haven't figured out the whole story yet. I just said a few words with Yen Moli outside Baorong Emperor's bedroom. Ener is your princess in any case. You must show yourself in front of your grandfather. Don't be too cold. Besides, it's important to avoid suspicion now, so you don't have to go to Zhongrenfu." Empress Lin had already thought about it in her heart. She covered her chest and looked a little tired. "It's a matter of great importance. I'm afraid it can't end well. Please remind your grandfather that if he can't help him, he can't ask for help." These things Yen Moli in the heart also early have thought, smell speech tiny nod, "Son minister no." Words fall, his mind a turn, suddenly said, "Mother, son minister always feel father's condition is not as simple as on the surface." Empress Lin raised her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I just hope my mother can inquire about it." Yen Moli didn't speak up, but the suspicion in his eyes couldn't hide from Empress Lin. Empress Lin nodded thoughtfully. "The palace has its own discretion. Baorong Emperor's body has been hollowed out for a long time. Now, the disease seems to be okay, but in fact it is a loss." Mo Shanghua and Yen Beiqing sit opposite each other and tell what they know one by one. When Emperor Barong was still in a coma, Empress Lin suddenly came. She was afraid that the situation would be grasped by Empress Lin, so she had to venture in. Thanks to Lu Zheng's help, she was able to treat Emperor Baorong smoothly. Mo Shanhua's eyes sank down, and he looked at Yen Beiqing in a faint way. As for his fainting today, it's a precursor. If it's not the right time, I won't treat him. If it is, I'm afraid he'll wake up a few hours in the evening. Yen Beiqing had expected it in his heart, but he was not surprised. He just gently grasped the flowers on the street. "I have been prepared in my heart, but I can't bear you working so hard for me." The willow eyebrows on the street gently stir up, full face relaxed laugh. "Nature is to blame you. If you were not forced to marry me, I naturally will not be so tired. To blame can only blame you." Yen Bei City took her tightly, thin lips close to her ear. "Lo Wei, If I can foretell, I will marry you earlier. In this way, you will be free from those torments in the future. Mo Shanghua pushed him away a little and gave him an angry look. It's always out of shape. I've seen it. We still have 3 months at most. What about the Empress Dowager? Yen North City Light Point Jaw. Express oneself no, a pair of phoenix eyes inside, surging endless dark. The smile on the flower's face on the street also converged, and the Empress Dowager said, the Empress Dowager won't have a big event for the time being, but she has to stay in bed all the year round. Yen North City suddenly clenched the book of Mo Shanghua. Mao Guangyu, you looking at her, want to start? Mo Shanghua held her hand tightly and said softly, I will always be with you. Yen Beicheng said nothing, but there was a touch of moving color in his eyes. Lord, here comes Dr. Liu. At this time, Maureen's voice suddenly sounded outside the room. Yen Beicheng opened the door and said, please come in. Lord, Princess. Lu Zhenglu's bending over was regarded as a gift. Yen also nodded in response, pointing to the seat beside the round table in front of him. Sit down. Lu Zheng was not constrained either. He said thanks and sat down. He was very conscious, just sitting opposite them, a few feet away from the stranger. Yen Beicheng was very satisfied with his deliberate action. He tilted his lips slightly and said, is there any movement in the palace? Lu Zheng nodded slightly, and the gentle smile from the corner of his lips temporarily subsided. The Empress summoned me and asked about your Majesty's illness. After a pause, he added, I've told the Queen as you said. I think the secret agent in the palace will send the secret letter soon. Well, I know. Knowing what he wanted, Yen Beicheng didn't ask any more. Can the pill be configured with a new one? Lu Zheng took out a porcelain vase from his sleeve and put it on the table. I have reduced the dosage according to your order. But the Emperor's health is getting worse now, and his own feeling is always stronger than others. I'm afraid he will increase the number of pills practiced by those warlocks. It's his own death. You don't have to control it. Yen Beicheng's thin lips pulled out a sneer, and his eyes were full of mockery. Baorong Emperor was Yen Beicheng's biological father. Naturally, Lu Zheng didn't have much to say. Besides, they had already communicated with each other. As a result, when he had finished his account, he stood up and said, Now your Majesty has been summoning me from time to time. If I can't leave for too long, I will leave first. Mo Shanghua suddenly stood up, red lips pulled out a touch of shallow radiance. Today's things have not yet had time to thank you, another day must be a good life to thank you. Thank you for your kindness. I'm sure I won't be brushing her at that time. Lu Zhengxian had some friendship with Mo Shanghua in Yuzhou, and he was not affectable at the moment. Waiting for Lu Zheng to leave, the flower on the street could not help but ask in a soft voice, Why do you want to reduce the weight of that medicine? Yen Beicheng's eyes flashed slightly, his thin lips pursed lightly, and he said as if nothing had happened, I'm just afraid that he will be greedy for a while, eat too much, and die too soon. But Yen Beicheng saw a different look in his eyes. In fact, after all, he did not want to kill his father himself. Even if Baorong Emperor was ruthless and indifferent again, there was still a bit of father-son feeling in Yen Beicheng's heart. Just, he is not willing to admit this kind of softness in his heart all the time. Mo Shanghua naturally won't expose, just silently leaning on his shoulder, Yen Beicheng took his shoulder tightly and didn't open his mouth. The Empress Dowager's condition is exactly what Mo Shanghua said. Although she has no worries about her life, she has to stay in bed for at least half a year. And could not be stimulated, even Baorong Emperor fainted, no one dared to tell the Empress Dowager. As for Baorong Emperor, although he was in good health, he didn't know what kind of mind he had, so he stayed away from court for 3 days and didn't go to court for 3 days. Lin Xiangyin is still locked up in the patriarchal mansion. The Marquis in the East can't sit down for a while. He went to see Baorong Emperor several times in private, but Baorong Emperor didn't see him. Lin Xiangyin's disposal has not been decided, so he has been locked up in the patriarchal mansion. At that time, Lin Xiangyin was sitting against the wall in the cell of the patriarchal mansion. Zhongrenfu was the place where the emperor's relatives were imprisoned, and Lin Xiangyin was able to live in a relatively clean cell. Even so, the boundless fear of silence still kept her awake at night, but she lost weight in 3 days. She shrank in the corner of the wall, her hands clasping her knees tightly, just like a little girl injured. The sound of the iron lock in the cell suddenly came, and the chain that affected the cell door also rang. Then there was the voice of the prison head, "Please." Lin Xiangyin raised her head slowly, but what she saw was not the face she was thinking about, but the face she hated. "Emo Shanghua, you don't forget to come to see my joke at such a time." Lin Xiangyin's vision suddenly cooled down, and she couldn't help saying, "My father and brother will help me out. After I go out, I will not let you go." The stranger glanced over her messy bun and looked around the cell, but sighed, "Do you remember Lu Qianqian? The cell she used to live in is much more shabby than you. Even the prison clothes are extremely dirty." At the thought of Lu Qianqian, Lin Xiangyin's face turned white and she was still calm. "What do you want to tell me about her? I have nothing to fear from her own death." Emo Shanghua himself picked a clean bench to sit down and said, "I just sigh that you and she both love Yen Moli deeply, and the way back to the end is the same." Lu Qianqian forced to bite her teeth and lips, and her eyes showed a little sadness. "What do you mean by this? I tell you that I am different from that woman. She has the cheek to stick it up. My cousin has no pity for her. I'm different. I've known my cousin since childhood. We are childhood friends. Nothing can compare with each other." Looking at Lin Xiangyin, who is still under illusion, Emo Shanghua mercilessly exposes her dream. "Did he come to see you? Have you ever excused yourself in front of your father?" Lin Xiangyin held her hands tightly together, and tears suddenly fell down her eyes. She couldn't answer the flowers in the street. Because of these, all did not, even Yen Moli did not even look at her. Even her aunt, who used to love her very much, just sent a female official to visit her. Father can't come in person, but Dong Linhao, who loves her most, has come to see her. These are her relatives. No one else has visited her except her relatives. Thinking of this, Lin Xiangyin was more and more sad, not only in her eyes, but also in her eyes. Her face was full of tears. "Lin Xiangyin, can't you see clearly? Yen Moli is just using you. He doesn't love you at all." Emo Shanghua finally said the purpose of this trip. Her voice was cold and seemed to be redeeming. "Not only Yen Moli, but also the queen, she just wanted to make use of you. All this was to consolidate the status of their mother and son and to fight for the throne." "Your bullshit." Lin Xiangyin raised a pair of red eyes and stared at the flowers on the street viciously. "All this is caused by you. If it wasn't for you, how could my cousin do this to me, and how could I take risks in order to win back my cousin's heart?" Emo Shanghua is calm, directly and simply admit it. "Yes, there is my reason in it, so I'm wrong that I shouldn't let you marry Yen Moli as soon as possible, but you ask yourself, even if you don't have me, you won't marry Yen Moli?" Lin Xiangyin was silent, biting her lip without opening her mouth, and her tears were still surging wildly. Even if there is no Emo Shanghua, she will try to marry Yen Moli. In fact, it's all your evil thoughts. Looking at such a miserable Lin Xiangyin, there is a trace of pity in her eyes. Lu Qianqian's identity is not as simple as you think. She has been with Yen Moli since she was a child. In the end, isn't Yen Moli as soft as before? Lin Xiangyin's eyes widened in surprise. What do you say?" Emo Shanghua mercilessly exposes the last illusion in Lin Xiangyin's heart. "Lin Xiangyin, you should wake up. If you think about it, I can help you out." This is her last chance. Lin Xiangyin was silent again, biting her lips tightly, and didn't speak for a long time. Emo Shanghua didn't urge her, so she sat quietly on the bench, waiting for Lin Xiangyin's answer. Lin Xiangyin's heart seemed to be tangled for a long time. Finally, she turned her head and looked at the flowers on the street. Her eyes were determined as never before. "This is what I did. I'm Princess Ling. I can't escape. Emo Shanghua, you're right. I have evil thoughts in my heart, but I'm so stupid. What I've suffered now is what I should bear." After staring at Lin Xiangyin's face for a while, Emo Shanghua saw that she was calm, so she didn't say more. "Well, Since it's your choice, I won't disturb her. Then she stood up and turned away. Lin Xiangyin stares at the prison door, which is tightly locked, and leaves with the flowers on the street. The corners of her lips are curved. She looks like a smile rather than a smile, and she looks like a cry rather than a cry. It's ugly and weird. She was suddenly envious of the flowers. Why can she live so clearly, unlike herself? She is so confused. Simply, the way she looks now has also affected Yen Moli. It can be regarded as his compensation for her. Inquired about Baorong Emperor's present physical condition, Empress Lin summoned Yen Moli in the night and told him this matter solemnly. After leaving the palace, Yen Moli quickly called all the counselors and plotted until midnight. The next morning, Emperor Baorong went to court a little tired. The Eastern Marquis couldn't bear that Lin Xiangyin had been playing again in the Zongrenfu. Unexpectedly, he was reprimanded by Emperor Baorong and rejected the memorial. At the request of Donglinhao, several ministers who wanted to help intercede immediately shut up when they saw the situation. No one dared to say more. The court hall was silent for a moment, and no one dared to play on it at this time, which made Baorong Emperor unhappy. This kind of opportunity may be unfavorable to others, but it is the best opportunity for Yen Moli. If I tell my father and emperor, my son and minister will play this part. He stepped out of the line and spoke in a loud voice. Baorong Emperor didn't look at Yen Mo, but he said impatiently, "If you want to intercede for Princess Ling, you don't have to. This matter is very important. I will never forgive you." Yen Moli's side of the lips slowly recalled, "Father, son minister to play, you king bullying king, dereliction of duty, connivance subordinate malicious wounding, bullying the people." As the words fell, General Chen, who was in charge of nearly half of the imperial city's guards, stood up and said, "Tell your majesty, yesterday evening, more than a dozen soldiers suddenly entered the city. They ate and drank in the city, and even bullied the people with their own power. They drank and ate meat but didn't give them money. Then they had a dispute and killed 2 people. Now the whole capital is full of complaints." Yen Moli turned his eyes and looked at Jing Zhaoyin standing in the crowd again. Now the common people have come to Jing Zhaoyin's place, and now there are complaints everywhere, and people's complaints are everywhere. Although Yen Beiqing is the prince, this matter is very important, so Jing Zhaoyin, who has been named, naturally dares not to say nothing. He quickly stepped out of the room for fear that he would be accused of being a dead man. He said, "I tell your majesty, those soldiers have been found out. They are the personal guards under His Highness King Yu, but they are extremely arrogant. I haven't had time to deal with them. The people are very excited. When Wei Chen left the house this morning, even the sedan chair was almost lifted. Son of a bitch." Baorong Emperor was very irritable recently. When he heard the words, he fell down and said, "The kingdom of God has always attached great importance to the people. Don't you know that water can carry a boat and overturn it? How dare you indulge your subordinates like this?" These words, naturally speaking to Yen Beiqing. Yen Beiqing flashed across his eyes, but he knelt down like a frightened deer. "Father, I don't know about it. You don't know the people under your hand? If not for your usual indulgence, how dare they? How dare you even kill the common people? You don't pay attention to the military discipline and the law of our country. I think they can do whatever they want with the support of King Yu. It's okay if it doesn't happen, but if it happens, it's doomed that it can't be done well." Therefore, Emperor Baorong was very angry. If this matter is not handled properly, even he, the emperor, will be resented by the common people. He only says that the imperial power is supreme and that human life is like grass. Yen Zhenxuan brow tipped tiny ring, a pair of when run if Jade's eye inside to limit a little doubt, toward Yen North City looked in the past. Yen Beiqing didn't look at him. He just knelt down on the ground and said, "I dare not." Yen Zhenxuan saw this, flashed a bit strange in the heart, lips light pursed, did not speak. He had an agreement with Yen Beiqing. If it wasn't for the last moment, he couldn't do it rashly. Otherwise, he would only scare the snake. Just at this time, A bodyguard suddenly rushed into the hall and said, "Report. More than a dozen people from outside the city have made trouble in the yamen in the city and have quarreled with the people. Now more than 50 people have made a lot of trouble and smashed the yamen." So, is that the opposite? The faces of all the courtiers were different. At this time, the Eastern Marquis stood up and said in a deep voice, "Your Majesty, this matter is not easy to end now. Please approve the imperial army and go to." As soon as the words were heard, another imperial guard came into the hall and said, "Report. There are more than 100 soldiers forced into the city outside the city. They have met with the guards. The number of people making trouble in the city also increased suddenly." Reverse, reverse. Emperor Baorong suddenly got up, his face was blue, and his forehead was blue. "Yan Beiqing, are you going to enter the palace?" "General Chen, I order you to take people there as soon as possible." Yes, General Chen took orders with his fist in his arms. He quickly passed a touch of pride in his eyes. "Father and Emperor, my son and minister are willing to go with General Chen." Yen Moli also came forward with his fist in his arms. "This matter is very important. You must have the prince, the son minister, to come forward in person to suppress this matter." Yen Zhenchuan felt a little wrong in his heart, and came forward. "My father, my son is willing to go." Baorong Emperor naturally has no reason not to agree, but his eyes on Yen Zhenchuan Qingruan's face slightly coagulated. "You are not in good health. This matter can't go. It's up to Ling Wang. I'll take orders." Without waiting for Yen Zhenchuan to refute one or two, Yen Mo responded with a loud voice and turned away. "King Yu." Emperor Baorong looked at Yen Beiqing with deep eyes, and his voice was filled with anger. "You go back to the palace now. You can't go out of the palace until you find out. I will send someone to guard it." Yen Zhenchuan hung his head. He couldn't see anything in his eyes. He only spoke in a slightly low voice, "Yes." As the voice fell, Emperor Baorong waved his hand. Naturally, 2 imperial guards came forward and followed Yen Beiqing to the court. "Retreat." Mo Shanghua looks at Yen Beiqing, who has been sent in by 2 imperial guards. Her face is still calm, and she seems not to panic at all. Qinya in the back but already anxious flustered god, urgent carrying skirt and want to go to the mansion to have a look. However, she just stepped to the threshold, and the 2 imperial guards directly put their swords in front of her chest. "Your Majesty has an order. No one in the upper and lower parts of King Yu's house can go out of the house." Qinya swallowed the saliva, carefully stepped back to the house, want to cry no tears of looking at Mo Shanghua Yen North City. "Princess, what's the matter in the end?" Mo Shanghua looks at Yen Beiqing. Although he looks dejected, his eyes are still shining and full of strategy. "Close the door." The flowers on the street light mouth, a beautiful cheek above half of the waves do not rise. Yen North City and she look at each other, not anxious, not slow to take her hand toward the house. Qinya looks at the couple who are not anxious and impatient after being sealed off. She is full of amazement. Then she reacts and closes her mouth and follows them. The look of the 2 masters had already been predicted. She really forgot that the princess of their family was very intelligent. There was nothing she could not expect. She had better not say more to avoid being heard by someone who had a heart. Stay in the house. Yanbei City just pull Mo Shanghua. Will today's situation one by one with Mo Shanghua listen. However, the appearance of fear in the temple had disappeared. Instead, he had a light face and no fear. It seemed that everything was in his hands. I thought Yen Moli would endure for some time. I didn't expect that he would be unable to sit so soon. There was a deep irony in the deep pupil of Yanbei City. Last night, my father summoned Yen Zhenchuan alone. He was afraid that if he was slower, the throne would fall into the hands of others. Unfortunately, what he has done will become a big dream in the end. The flowers on the street utter words coldly, and there is no emotion in the eyes of Qingling. Yen Zhenchuan's carriage was on the street, and he could hear the noise outside the sedan chair clearly. In the past, the streets were also full of the same life, but they were all peddlers and people living and working in peace and contentment. And Today, there is no hawker in the street who dares to set up a stall anymore. Instead, a group of imperial guards are patrolling the street in a uniform way, and they are searching the streets wantonly. It's said that the mobs have been in the street, and even Yen Zhenxuan's carriage has been strictly guarded to prevent the mobs from coming. It's just that he always finds it strange. Yen Zhenxuan frowned slightly and thought for a long time, then suddenly raised his voice and said, "Go to Yu Wangfu. Your Highness, King Yu's mansion is under the strict supervision of your Majesty now. No one can go out, no one can go." Outside the carriage, the voice of the boy who was close to him was very worried. "If it doesn't matter, I'll go to King Yu's house." Yen Zhenxuan, who has always been gentle, is particularly stubborn at this time. His warm voice is mixed with irresistible power. "Yes." Outside the door, the boy responded helplessly and ordered the coachman to change the way to the house of King Yu. Today, Yen Moli is just a mob of less than 100 people. It is clear that he only needs to send 100 people to live in, but he has mobilized 300 imperial guards to encircle the whole government. Among the people, many of them are weak at the sight of the battle, and more than 100 people are just coming to see the excitement and are surrounded by them. Some people in the crowd cried out, "Brothers, the government is forcing the people to revolt. They are going to kill us all, we can't wait to die, fight with them." Both vertical and horizontal are dead. It's clear that good people are not allowed to live in this world. They have to fight. A large number of people were incited, and now they were all red in front of their eyes, copying all kinds of tools. At this time, outside the city, in the pro-guard camp of Yanbei City, some people also stood up to incite. "You guys, did you just see the Imperial Guards?" According to the news just received in the city is in chaos. Our Lord has been imprisoned by the Dog Emperor. The Lord treats us well. How can we wait to die? We must go into the city to rescue the Lord. Kill. When Yen Zhenxuan arrived at Yen Beiqing's residence, he was stopped by the guards in charge of guarding. "Your Majesty has an order. No one is allowed to go in and out of King Yu's residence. Please don't embarrass him." Yen Zhenxuan's warm eyebrows were dyed a little fierce, and all the gentleness in his voice disappeared. "Since you know the identity of this hall, don't you know that my father always valued me? This time I came here, I was also instructed by my father." Oracles are nothing but empty words. How can we believe them without the people around Baorong? "Your Highness, don't worry about it." The leading bodyguard was embarrassed. Yen Zhenxuan did not panic at all. He said lightly, "This hall is the son of my father. Do you need someone else to prove to you that my father's dictation is okay?" The man in charge of the guard choked, hesitated and gave in. So Yen Zhenxuan went in. The guard didn't dare to question Emperor Baorong in person. Yen Zhenxuan said that he had no evidence in any case. The news that Yen Zhenxuan had entered the palace soon spread to the north side of the city, and his servants introduced them into the hall. Mo Shanghua Ren looks at each other and stands up to greet each other at the same time. Yen Beiqing was in such a bad situation at the moment, but he still said with a smile, "I'm really moved that the 13th Emperor's younger brother can come to see me at this time." The flower on the street is also the same person with black belly. A smile flashed in his eyes when he heard the words, but he didn't open it. Yen Zhenxuan has always been quite confused and nervous. Seeing Yen Beiqing's look, all his worries disappear immediately, and then there are strong doubts. Brother Wu can still laugh now, which must have been expected. It's just that Sun Xian is stupid. He really doesn't know what he's doing. Yen Beiqing's mind has always been very deep. Now see Yen Zhenxuan so asked, still thing with a smile. 13 Emperor younger brothers sit down first. Qinya goes to serve tea. Mo Shanghua, with the same calm face, gave an order to Qinya and sat down. "In fact, today is when you don't come. Your brother and I will try to invite you to come." "What does that mean?" Yen Zhenxuan's eyebrows and eyes were warm and moist. He still stood in the same place. The flowers on the street of Yanbei City looked at each other and only laughed without saying anything. The couple are playing a riddle, and Yen Zhenxuan is full of confusion. This matter is very important. He can't figure it out for a moment, so he can't sit down safely. Mo Xianghua personally put the hot tea Qinya just brought up on the small table for Yen Zhenxuan. Brother Shizenwang, you'd better have a cup of tea first. Within 3 days, there will be results. Yen Zhenxuan's heart was beating violently, and an idea came out of his heart. Is it? Tell your majesty, the king you outside the city has rebelled. Now we are fighting with the guards. The people in the city also killed Red Eye, and now they have got rid of the rebellion of the guards. What Baorong Emperor How also can't imagine, in his lifetime will give birth to such a big mess, suddenly up. The bodyguard who came to reply continued to speak tremblingly. Your Highness the King Ling sent someone to send a message. Please make your decision. Emperor Baorong was so angry that his voice was raised several times. His face was so black that he could almost drip water. What else can we decide? Immediately transfer all the forbidden troops. It's necessary to stop. If the soldiers are not enough, they will send the imperial guards with them. Just finish saying these words. He then violent cough. Lu Wang patted Baorong Emperor's back in front of the mountain. Your Majesty, please calm down. Dr. Lu has said for a long time. You can't be angry at will. The imperial guards are brave and good at fighting. They will settle this matter soon. Just relax. Baorongdi's cough was not relieved, but became more and more serious. After a long time, it gradually calmed down. When I spread out my palm, I saw a dazzling scarlet. Lu Wang was shocked and cried out, Your Majesty! Before his voice fell, Emperor Baorong's body shook and suddenly fell down. Lu Wang had a sense of propriety. When Emperor Baorong fainted again, he sent for the imperial doctor first, and then quickly went to Cunning Palace and invited Queen Lin to come. Now the Empress Dowager is still seriously ill. The news of Baorong Emperor's illness should not be spread out at will. It is the best way to find Empress Lin to preside over the overall situation. However, he miscalculated a lot of things. Empress Lin is Yen Moli's foster mother. As a mother, she should plan for her son at this time. What's the matter, Dr. Lu? Didn't you say before that your Majesty's health is all right? What's the matter this time? Empress Lin came fiercely and aimed at Lu Zheng for the first time. Lu Zheng bowed his head and said in a warm voice, I'd like to inform the Queen that your Majesty is now in a state of impatience. In other words, his previous diagnosis is all right. Unexpectedly, Empress Lin, who has always been virtuous and gentle, changed her face at this time and said coldly, It's clear that your medical skill is not good, which makes your Majesty's body bury such hidden dangers. Now she dares to argue in front of our palace. You don't have to come here for diagnosis and treatment. Our palace has invited too many hospitals to judge. She said this very sharply, no longer like the usual soft voice. As soon as the voice fell, 2 imperial guards came forward and took down Lu Zheng, and the rest of the imperial doctors who were in the palace were also taken down. Take it down. The expressionless enunciation behind Lin Huang. Lu Zheng had expected such a move for a long time, so he didn't panic or struggle, so he let the imperial guards take him down. Lu Wang was terrified and asked carefully, Lady, this is... Empress Lin glanced at Lu Wang from the corner of her eye, then turned around and stood in front of the collapse of Emperor Baorong. Her voice was solemn and cold. The news that your Majesty fainted again must not be spread out. Therefore we have to do this. When your Majesty gets better, we will invite you personally crime. As the words fell, a pair of imperial guards of 100 people suddenly burst out of the hall. But for a moment, they surrounded the whole hall. The uniform footstep outside the hall made Lu Wang's heart tremble and he knelt down. I obey the order. Empress Lin nodded a little, and her voice slowed down a little. All step back first, and the imperial doctor brought by our palace will diagnose for your Majesty. Lu Wang raised his eyes and looked at Baorong Emperor, who was lying on the dragon bed. He closed his eyes. After a while, he opened his eyes and left the palace with a bent body. The hall was soon cleaned up, and Queen Lin looked at the imperial hospital, which ordered Dr. Lu. Lu Yui came over with his medicine box on his back and put his hand between Baorong Emperor's veins to feel his pulse. "Nyang Nyang, your majesty's body." But after a while, Lu Yuyi's face changed greatly, his lips trembled and knelt down, and he could not spit out the last few words anyway. Empress Lin already had the answer in her heart, but she still grasped her sleeve subconsciously. "Just say, what is it?" Dr. Lu buried his head tightly on the ground and said in horror, your majesty's body is losing a lot of internal power. Fainting a few days ago is a sign. Today he vomited blood again. I'm afraid he can't go back to heaven." Empress Lin felt that her whole body's breath was frozen at this moment. Her hand holding her sleeve trembled slightly, and then she grasped it harder and harder. Her fingertips turned white because of excessive force. Is this man really going to die? Yes, they have been married for more than 20 years. Now even she is wrinkled. They are all old. It's not surprising that Baorongdi has come to this step. Since ancient times, the Emperor Xiaoshu is shouting more long live, still cannot change this fact. Empress Lin suddenly felt sad. She waved to Imperial Dr. Lu and sat on the edge of the dragon couch in a trance. Baorong Emperor's political achievements in this life are still very clear. When he was young, he was also a good emperor who worked hard. In recent months, he became a little irritable, but he had no influence on the country. Empress Lin had some feelings for him in her heart. Thinking of this, Empress Lin could not help holding Baorong Emperor's hand, with a deep sadness in her eyes. Your Majesty, I can't imagine that you really want to go before me. I married you for more than 20 years when I was young. For so many years, you have been very kind to me. But these days, why do you want to leave me behind and scold me in public? Do you know why you treat me like that? Is it the son of your favorite lady who wants to make him the crown prince? Emperor Lin took Emperor Baorong's hand and murmured to himself. Looking at Emperor Baorong, he looked sad and resentful. He was extremely contradictory, but he was also extremely attached to him. At this moment, Baorong Emperor, no longer fierce above the court hall, lies quietly on the dragon couch, with high intelligence, eyes closed tightly, the same wrinkles on his face, eyes flabby and drooping, lips pale and colorless. But Empress Lin seemed to see Baorong Emperor when she was young through such a pale and old face. She immediately put on a smile. She didn't know whether it was self-mockery or jealousy at the bottom of her eyes. Your Majesty, the son of Shufei does look like you when you were young, but he is not as brave and fierce as you. Why do you take a fancy to him? Why don't you tell me where your imperial edict is hidden? It's true that in the past 2 months, although she was under foot restraint, her father was a marquis in the east, and her brother was a general guarding the frontier. Naturally, some important news came to her word for word. Although Emperor Baorong never mentioned it in the imperial court, he often summoned important officials in private to discuss the issue of establishing a crown prince. Unfortunately, there was no final conclusion. However, according to Donglin House conjecture, Emperor Baorong fainted a few days ago. I'm afraid he was frightened and must have written the imperial edict. With this in mind, Empress Lin suddenly let go of Emperor Baorong's hand, and her smile gradually became a bit proud and crazy. But it's a pity that no matter who you pay the most attention to in your heart, it must be Li Er who will ascend the throne in the future, and this palace is naturally the supreme Empress Dowager, the only Empress Dowager in the palace. Yen Moli lost her biological mother when she was a child. Since then, no one has ever shared the Empress Dowager's respect with her. In the future, in this palace, she is really one person below and 10,000 above. The more she thought about the situation in the future, the sadness in Empress Lin's heart was also dissipated. Instead, she was filled with resentment. You've been treating me like this recently. Don't you just want to clear the obstacles for your son Yen Zhenxuan? But you forget that this palace is the daughter of the marquis in the east. There are father and elder brother holding real power behind him. Half of the imperial guards are in the hands of this palace. My elder brother has already come back. Soon, this palace will be the world of Lear and me. As for your most beautiful concubine, that bitch and her son, I will not let go. By the way, there is the woman who was used and abandoned by you, the biological mother of Yen Beiqing. Our palace will send him down to accompany you." Empress Lin's smile faded, and she looked down at Baorong Emperor. Her red lips spoke softly. No matter how confused Yen Zhenchuan was, Mo's Hangflower and Yen Beiqing decided not to talk about it. They just stayed him until it was getting late, and even let Yen Zhenchuan eat lunch and dinner with them. No matter how confused Yen Zhenchuan was, Mo's Hangflower and Yen Beiqing would not let him go. During this period, even if there were guards outside the gate, the news from the outside still came to Yanbei City one by one. Among them, the whole imperial city was in chaos. This kind of moment, Mo Ling no longer need to hide in the dark, then appear in front of the public. Yen Zhenchuan couldn't sit still for several times. He was persuaded by the flowers on the street of Yanbei City. He just advised him to be calm. In the evening, Yen Zhenchuan didn't want to have a meal, but the flowers on the street of Yanbei City still ate very well. "My lord, it's the palace." After dinner, Mo Ling appeared again and said in a deep voice, "Your Majesty vomited blood and fainted." The Empress temporarily imprisoned Lu Zheng and other imperial doctors for the reason that they were not proficient in medical skills. Another appointed imperial doctor went to the palace and ordered the imperial guards to surround the whole palace. Now, the palace is in a state of panic, and the imperial palace is not allowed to go in and out at will. As soon as the words were heard, another dark guard rushed in. "Lord, the second prince ordered people to surround some important officials' residences." The whole place was controlled by searching the mob. Yen Zhenchuan suddenly got up, eyes full of shock. "What you said is true? Father, did he really vomit blood and faint?" Mo Ling nodded slightly and said, "Yes, now the palace has been occupied, and it's very difficult for us to get in and out of the palace. At present, the only information we can get is these." Yen Zhenchuan's sword eyebrows were tightly wrinkled together. He was completely flustered, and then he walked out toward you. "No, I can't see my father being controlled. I have to go. Now there are Yen Moli and General Chen's imperial guards in the city, and the Queen's imperial guards in the palace. Do you think you can play any role when you go there?" Just as the steps moved, the cold and heartless voice of flowers on the street came in. Yen Zhenchuan only felt that his full of excitement and resentment were all poured down by a bucket of cold water at the moment, cool thoroughly. He stepped back a few steps, with a strong self-mockery on his face. "Yes, what's the use of me besides being anxious?" After a pause, he turned his head, and his warm eyebrows suddenly fell on Yen Beiqing, who was sitting on the seat safely. "Brother Huang, you have an idea in your heart?" Yen Beiqing did not answer directly, but shook his head gently and said, "There is only one thing I can't understand. Normally, my father's body won't fall down so soon." The corner of the flower's lips on the street was slightly raised, and there was a sneer on the beautiful face. "Why do you think Yen Moli started so quickly? I'm afraid he is the only one who knows the whole story best." "You mean?" Thinking of the possibility in his heart, Yen Zhenchuan's heart was completely filled with anger. How dare he? He's killing his father. What's the point of such behavior with animals? Mo Shang Flower lightly swept him one eye. "The face has no facial expression of opening. This is in your royal family, isn't it common?" Yen Beiqing leaned back and said no. Yen Zhenchuan also completely quiet down, some took off force of sat down, pursed lips not language. Indeed, for the royal family, these things are just ordinary things, and Yen Zhenchuan can't find any words to refute them. This is also something that he has a little bit of resistance in his mind. His bones are fratricidal and he kills his father and his mother. He has always been reluctant to fight against each other. He is also afraid that he will come to this stage and become such a ruthless person. On one side of the flower's lips on the street, he raised a slight sneer. Even the throne of Baorong Emperor was obtained after such cruel fraternity and flesh and blood struggle? Yen Zhenchuan did not retort, slightly drooping his eyes, lips overflow a touch of self-mockery. "I am immersed in the past so pure days, but now I understand. Huang saw you just say, "What shall we do next?" You don't have to do anything, just stay in King Yu's house. Mo Shanghua is still that sentence. His voice is gentle, without too much emotional ups and downs. This time, Yen Zhenchuan, never so anxious, gently nodded. I know, Huang saw, although rest assured, I will not ask more. Yen Beiqing suddenly stood up and walked out. His face had been safe all day, and now he was dignified. King Yu's mansion was surrounded by the imperial guards, so it was peaceful in the mansion at this time, but the noise outside the mansion began to ring gradually. The roar of the soldiers, the struggle of the people, and the sound of weapons colliding have been heard gradually. Mo Shanghua also stood up and stood side by side with Yen Beiqing. Her voice slowed down and said, "Here we are." Yen North City stretched out his hand to hold Mo Shanghua's hand, eyebrows and eyes mild. I can give you a stable soon. Mo Shanghua shakes her head and her eyes are especially firm. Only when you stay safely in the house can you confuse Yen Moli. I have to go to this matter. Yen Beiqing's big palms suddenly tightened, and the worries in his eyes almost turned into substance. I don't want you to take risks. Mo Ling can also go there. North City. Mo Shanghua slowed down his voice and called his name so gently for the first time. Only if I go in person, you can rest assured that if it doesn't help, I will still be covered with poison. I have already made a perfect plan. Yen Beiqing's eyes closed slightly and shook her hand slightly. After a while, he opened his eyes again and held her tightly in his arms. You must come back safely. Otherwise, I will go with you. Mo Shanghua hugged him and held his waist tightly. He solemnly promised, I'll come back. Even for you and my children, I will come back safely. In the second half of the sentence, she only recited it in her heart, then released Yen Beiqing. Marine, take more hands with you and protect yourself. Yenbei City is still not at ease, directly called Moling. No, I'm enough alone. I'd better leave Mo Ling to you. You can only take good care of Qinya for me. Mo Shanghua directly shakes his head and refuses. Mao Guang sweeps Qinya standing in the hall. Qinya's eyes suddenly turned red, and anxiously came forward and grasped the sleeves of the flowers on the street. Princess, are you going to do something very dangerous? Mo Shanghua didn't answer directly. She raised her hand to touch Qinya's hairy hair and said with a smile, Don't worry, I'll be okay, and I'm not as dangerous as you think. With that, she took out several packages of good poison powder wrapped in oil paper and put them into Qinya's hands. You can take this and protect yourself at the key time. Qinya's eyes were moist, and she took the poison powder with tears in her eyes. The princess can rest assured that the maidservant will take care of herself. She had nothing left. She was also a drag on the princess when she went there. She was obedient, so as not to distract her. Just don't worry. I'll be back soon. The flower on the street comforted him with a warm voice, and then took out a few packets of poison powder and put it on Yen Beiqing. The poison in this is enough to poison people within 2 meters of your body, so you have to accept these. Yen Beiqing did not refuse. He held the wrapped poison powder tightly in his hand and sipped his lips. Mo Shanghua is very considerate. She gives Yen Beiqing Qinya and Yen Zhenchuan and Mo Ling a few packages respectively. Then she quietly retreats. She was alone, but behind her, she was not afraid. Mo Shanghua had just left the mansion, and Yen Moli led the Forbidden Army to encircle the whole mansion of King Yu. At this time, the imperial guards he led were no longer the first 300. He transferred 3,000 imperial guards to the palace. 1,000 of them were sent to encircle the 13th prince's mansion, and the remaining 2,000 were to encircle the whole Yuang's mansion. There are only 5,000 imperial guards stationed in the palace. Now 3,000 are here, and the remaining 2,000 are subdued by the other 3,000 imperial guards in the palace. Now, not to mention that the palace is under his control, even the imperial city has been firmly controlled by him. The imperial guards, who were originally responsible for guarding King Yu's mansion, were all flustered when they saw the battle, and they all looked at Yen Moli. Your Highness, what is this? One of the guards in the imperial forest was daring to inquire. Yen Moli rode on a high horse, and his eyelids did not droop when he heard the words, "I have been ordered to eliminate the anti-thieves in the city, and now I want to search King Yu's house." The guards looked at each other and were quite puzzled. It's been a whole day since King Yu's mansion was surrounded by them. Even a fly didn't fly away. How can we get in and fight against the thieves? The bodyguards are wondering, but Yen Moli obviously has no patience to continue to consume. "How? Do you want me to invite my father to prove what I said with you? How can all these princes be such a pawn to him?" The bodyguard of the imperial forest complained in his heart and had to smile on his face to get out of the way. Yen Moli got off his horse and walked into the palace of King Yu. Behind him, a group of imperial guards followed him closely. His steps were neat and powerful, and the steady and neat footsteps were enough to frighten people. General Qin dismounted after Yen Moli. Before entering the mansion, he turned and looked at the imperial guards who had been removed. He said, "Take care of them for the time being." "Yes." As a result, the imperial guards, who had just passed the rounds of competition between the two princes, were taken care of again. The sudden influx of a large number of guards frightened a servant girl in the house. Before they could scream, they were all arrested one by one. Even the guards in the house were all controlled by the guards as quickly as possible. For a moment, the whole house screamed. Yen Beiqing and Yen Zhenxuan leave the main hall, and Qinya and Mo Ling follow them. Yen Beiqing was indifferent, and there was no fear on his face. Yen Zhenxuan was a little nervous, but he was not surprised. It is Mo Ling, holding the sword tightly in one hand, paying close attention to the surroundings and taking care of Qinya from time to time. At present, only the people in Yanbei City are safe. "Brother Huang, what's your intention?" Yanbei City has already lost the appearance of being scared in the court hall, looking at Yen Moli with a light complexion. Yen Moli also changed his face. His modest appearance disappeared, and his face was expressionless. Yen Zhenxuan, who was in Yanbei City, said, "I have been ordered to exterminate the anti-thieves in the city. Just now, I saw that you have been infiltrated with anti-thieves. I'm afraid that the fifth emperor's younger brother will be disturbed by the anti-thieves, so I have to do it." After a pause, he looked over Yen Beiqing and looked at Yen Zhenxuan beside him. "I didn't expect that the 13th emperor's younger brother was also here. You disobeyed his father's will and came quietly." Yen Zhenxuan didn't have fear on his face, and his warm eyebrows were tight at the moment. "I came here against the orders of my father, and I'll go to his father's face to apologize in the future, so I don't need to worry about him. However, I only know that my father ordered you to lead the Forbidden Army to fight against the mob in the imperial court. When did the anti-thief come and who gave you such great military power?" Yen Mo's fierce eyes gushed out a thick, evil, cold, and calm voice. "The development of things has already exceeded expectations, and the emperor naturally ordered." Yen Zhenxuan flashed an angry look in his eyes and clenched his fists tightly. "My father is still in a coma now. How can I make an order? What's more, there is no basis for empty talk. Do you have an imperial edict?" "There is no imperial edict right now." Yen Mo's lips pointed out a sarcastic radian. "Old 13, you are really naive." Yen Zhenxuan's light pink lips are tightly stretched into a straight line, and his eyes are looking at Yen Moli with forbearance and hatred. Yen Beiqing, one hand pressed on his shoulder, just let him full of resentment slightly ease. Yen Moli's full of sarcasm no longer disdains to cover up and sneers. "Don't you expect him to save you? Unfortunately, he has no such ability at all." After a pause, he said, "This waste has been dormant and disguised for decades. He wants to be a pig and eat a tiger. When he comes to the imperial city, he wants to make a name for himself. Unfortunately, he is just a waste firewood lord. When he comes to the imperial city, he has no foundation and can only be trampled on by the king." At this point, his eyes showed a certain color of ambition. "Old 13, my father is in love with you, so what? You are also a waste with no foundation. No, you are even worse than him. You have been idle in the palace for more than 10 years, but now you have no ability to fight with the king. It's really ridiculous. Yan Zhenchuan closed his lips tightly and didn't say a word. Yan Beiqing was smiling on his lips, and there was no anger of being insulted between his eyebrows and eyes. Is that right? I still remember that you were frustrated many times when you were in Yuzhou. Referring to the past, Yan Mo's face suddenly sank and was covered with gloom. When he was in Yuzhou, he didn't find Yan Beiqing playing the role of a pig and eating a tiger. He made a lot of obstacles secretly. Now it's really a great insult. This is not Yuzhou. Yan Moli bit his teeth and said, "Come on, King Yu is hiding the mob. He intends to rebel. Take it quickly." The 13 princes took part in the secret, and the bodyguards joined the party. After a pause, his voice sank, "Life or death?" "Don't worry, Your Highness." General Chen bowed his head to answer, and his eyes flashed a dull color. Outside the city at that time, the pro-guards from Yuzhou who had been instigated were killed by all the guards stationed outside the city just as they were about to enter the city. The barracks of the Imperial Guards were on the side of their barracks. There were 5,000 of them, so it was no surprise that Yuzhou pro-guards could not be annihilated. At present, the guards have withdrawn from the foot of the Imperial City and began to occupy the whole Imperial City. General Zhao Wei, the direct manager of the Forbidden Army outside the city, had long been informed by Emperor Baorong that King Yu intended to rebel. After destroying the Yuzhou guards outside the city, he closed the city gate and could not let out a fly. Thousands of miles away in the frontier, General Lin, the elder brother of Empress Lin, had already started to gather people and horses half a month ago. His name is Beautiful. Now His Majesty is bewildered by her mother and son, and wants to establish a 6th seedling who can't live more than 22 years as the crown prince. Naturally, he wants to clear the emperor's side. He managed everything well, but before he could start, all the bandits of the Moon Kingdom suddenly attacked. A few rogue bandits are harmless, but they seem to be sure that they don't have time to counterattack now. They don't confront the enemy head-on. They only attack them from time to time. As early as a few days ago, their food and grass were attacked and burned clean. Without food and grass, there was no time to ask Baorong Emperor for money to buy military supplies. General Lin was at a loss. The Imperial City also sent Empress Lin's letter, asking him to return to the Imperial City quickly, but without food and grass, how would he march? Naturally, the garrison of the Imperial City is not only the Imperial Guards and the Imperial Guards, but also 20,000 Imperial Guards in the remote wilderness. But this side of the Forbidden Army is not urgent, and this talisman is only in the hands of Prince Lien. Prince Lien is the only surviving elder brother of Emperor Baorong. But when he was young, he didn't like the government. He was so spontaneous that he never went to the early dynasty. But it was such an idle prince that Baorong Emperor gave him the talisman. However, Emperor Baorong was suspicious of Prince Lien's nature. He was willing to believe that he was still like that when he was old enough. He just handed over the military food to him. The Prince Lien was very strange in nature. After he got the talisman, he still didn't care about the drill, and the court was not as good as before. Even in the palace, half eyeliner is not. The news is blocked tightly, all day except in Wang Fu's amusement, then has nothing to do with him. More importantly, Prince Lien didn't have deep feelings for Emperor Baorong. The barracks was far away from the capital. It could only be used in an emergency, and it would take at least 2 hours to dispatch troops. The prince's mansion had been controlled by Yan Moli for the first time. No fly could fly out, and no one could dispatch troops. This is also the reason why Yan Moli dares to start directly. Unfortunately, Yan Moli did everything, but he didn't expect that at this time, a young general in the military camp was standing on the exercise platform. He raised a tiger amulet in his hand and said, "Your Majesty fainted and died. The second prince was plotting to kill the king. Everyone listen to me and go to the city to help you. Yes, 20,000 officers and soldiers, the uniform should be in harmony, the momentum is enough to shake the earth." On the wall of the Imperial City, a small soldier suddenly rushed back and yelled, General, it's not good. I don't know who ordered the imperial guards outside the city, but they are coming towards the city now. What? Zhao Wei's sword eyebrows were locked tightly, and his eyebrows were quite cold. Can you make it clear that it's the forbidden army outside the city? General Hui is indeed a forbidden army under Prince Lian. There are as many as 20,000 people. The soldier trembled. Zhao Wei waved his hand and asked the soldier to step down. His eyes were filled with doubts. Prince Lian's soldiers will only be transferred when they are most urgent. Besides, the gate of the city has been closed. When did Prince Lian's people go out to transfer troops? Naturally, because of the great events in the city, Prince Lian's talents will be transferred. As soon as Zhao Wei's voice fell, a cold woman's voice suddenly sounded behind him. Her voice was gentle and indifferent, as if she were just an outsider. Zhao Wei subconsciously touched the sword at his waist. He was as tight as a bow and turned quickly. Now that he is on the tower, there is no one behind him except the forbidden army. There is no woman's voice. Therefore he is very alert. However, when she turned around, she saw a very delicate woman. Today, Emo Shanghua is dressed in a pure white dress. There is no embroidered pattern on her whole body. Her thin body is wrapped in white dress, and she is wearing armor at the back. Compared with the tall soldiers, she looks more and more weak. It is such a woman whose posture is more upright than that of the soldiers behind her. Her temperament is admirable without words. Who are you and how did you get up? Zhao Wei slightly relaxed a little vigilance. Eyes are still firmly staring at the beautiful face of Emo Shanghua, eyes slightly suspicious. He seems to have never seen such a beautiful woman. Emo Shanghua glanced at the soldiers who followed him. Naturally, he brought me up. The officer bowed his head slightly and said respectfully, I'll tell you back. It's Princess Yu who said that she has something important to say to you face to face. I have no choice but to bring her up. You are Princess Yu. Zhao Wei's eyes were full of disbelief. He looked at the beautiful woman in front of him and said, Your face. Mo Shanghua was not angry at Zhao Wei's reaction, but said faintly, Nature has been cured for a long time. General Zhao, I'm not here to discuss my appearance with you. Zhao Wei turned his head instead of looking at the face of the flowers on the street. The princess is not in the palace now. Why is she here? Emo Shanghua took the first 2 steps. Instead of looking at Zhao Wei, she looked at the world outside the city wall. After a long time, she slowly said, It's not important. Then she turned around and looked at Zhao Wei with her eyes fixed. The important thing is that your majesty is still fainting and dying. The real ruler of the palace has become Lu Weng, and the one who gives you the imperial edict is not Baorong Emperor at all. Zhao Wei was born in a family of generals. He was full of loyalty. There was only one Emperor Baorong who was loyal to him. At the moment when he heard the words of Emo Shanghua, he flashed a strong look of shock, and then he was more vigilant. The news of our general, Your Majesty, is still in the palace. It's the order that I transfer the forbidden army out of the city, and it's also the relatives of Your Majesty. How is it possible to have a false message? Princess Yu, King Yu's intention is not right now. Are you here to counter our general? Seeing this, a pioneer behind Zhao Wei also came forward. The general is wise. The couple of King Yu have been wrong in their hearts. First, they provoked the people in the city to revolt, and then they ordered their own guards to fight in the imperial city. Is it not a rebellion or something? General, I can't believe a word of this which. After a pause, the man's eyes flashed a little. If you don't take Princess Yu up for a while and send her to Your Majesty, it will be a great achievement. This person is obviously Yan Beiqing's most worried existence. Yan Moli is careful. He not only reaches a superficial agreement with General Chen, but also quietly places his hands around Zhao Wei, for fear that Zhao Wei will not be controlled. Zhao Wei obviously also believed what the pioneer said. He stared at Hua's beautiful face on the street for a moment, and his eyes sank slightly. Come on, take it. As soon as the words fell, 2 valiant soldiers came forward to capture Emo Shanghua. The flower on the street moves, but his eyes suddenly shrivel down, and his cold voice rises. Your Majesty, since you are well, why don't you write the imperial edict? Just send your confidants to deliver the oral instructions? Don't you think it's strange? Wait a minute. Zhao Wei raised his hand, and the two soldiers immediately stopped. Zhao Wei's eyes were fixed on the flowers in the street, and his doubts surged up again. What do you mean by that? The flower on the street raised her lips slightly, and Qingling's voice seemed to be full of the power of bewitching people. General Zhao is not a stupid man. Don't you think that if your Majesty is safe and sound at the moment, and just sent a message, why do you have such great power to mobilize the forbidden forces inside and outside the city? If, after this, someone wants to frame you up, saying that you have transferred troops without authorization and that you have no imperial edict, you will be killed. Zhao Wei was shocked, as if he had been hit in the head, and cleared away those doubts in his mind. Seeing that something was wrong, the pioneer quickly continued to slander, General, this woman is seducing people. If you let her seduce you, the consequences will be unimaginable. If your Majesty blames you at that time, you are not the only one. All the brothers here will be buried together. General, you must take care of the lives of our brothers. This words obviously let Zhao Wei hesitate down, slightly drop eyes, don't know what to think. Mo Shanghua's eyes suddenly cooled down and turned to see the real, bewitching pioneer. She suddenly raised her hand, silver flash between the fingers, a silver needle flying out of the fingers, with the power of lightning quickly into the pioneer's brow. The man didn't even have time to scream, so he fell down straightly, no longer alive, only a scarlet blood spot on his brow to show the cause of his death. Before Zhao Wei opened his mouth, all the soldiers around him were speechless. They all drew out their swords and looked warily at the flowers on the street. One of them saw that Zhao Wei did not return to his mind and said, Your Highness, she killed the pioneer. Make up your mind, Zhao Wei, this just returned to God, deeply looked at Mo Shang to spend one eye. This general how also can't think of, you unexpectedly so ruthless. In the face of the glare of so many people on the wall, the flower on the street is still calm, and his voice is cold and piercing. This man is determined to test and bewitch people, so he should be beheaded. After a pause, her red lips gently picked. More importantly, he is not a loyal man, but the maker of this incident, Ling Wang's pawn. Zhao Wei's pupils suddenly shrank, and his body slightly leaned forward. The minions of King Ling? What do you mean by that? He never retreated and looked straight at Zhao Wei. This is Ling Wang self-directing and acting, just to seek the throne. He didn't pay attention to you and the life and death of the soldiers under your hand. You are just a chip for him to get the throne. As she said this, she turned around and glanced at the soldiers. Now, my husband, King Yu, and the 13 princes have been surrounded by King Ling, and your Majesty is seriously ill in the palace, but the whole bedroom is surrounded by the imperial guards, and the palace is already airtight. The flowers on the street reveal the truth in front of everyone. There were soldiers who were crying for revenge for the pioneer before, but now they have stopped, and they are looking at each other face to face. The knife in their hands is a little loose. Zhao Wei was also in a trance. After a while, he digested all the news from Mo Shanghua. Then, suddenly, he trotted to the wall of the city and looked down. At this time in the past, although it was not as lively as the center of the city, occasionally we could hear children crying and old women scolding. There were always people. Today, it's quiet. In front of the people's houses that live at the gate of the city, even a light is not on. From a distance, it can be seen that the direction of King Yu's residence is emitting thick smoke. It seems that the situation is critical. Seeing Zhao Wei's reaction, many soldiers came forward to watch. Zhao Wei's grip on the handle of the knife tightened a little, ordered a soldier, and said, Now send a small group of people to the palace. Yes, seeing the soldiers go down in a hurry, Zhao Wei turned around again. I hope you didn't cheat the general. Mo Shanghua glanced over Zhao Wei and looked in the direction of King Yu's mansion from a distance. He whispered, I wish this didn't happen too early. Say, the right hand can't help caressing to own abdomen, the worry of Mao bottom lightly flashed. At that time, Yen Moli thought it was a very simple thing to win Yen Beiqing, but he did not think that people in black appeared out of nowhere in the palace, which had been controlled by the whole government, and all of them had extraordinary skills, and soon they were fighting with the imperial guards. What's more unexpected is that Yen Sichuan, who used to look rather useless, now has hundreds of bodyguards attacking from outside the mansion. The situation became complicated for a while. Yen Moli stood in the crowd, looking coldly at Yenbei City, where Enron was protected by people in black. Yenbei City, I didn't expect that you could bring these people to the imperial city and hide them in your Yuangfu. After a pause, he looked at Yen Sichuan. You are ready, but it's a pity that our king has 3,000 forbidden troops. You are only a few hundred people. How long do you think you can last? Yen Beiqing's side of the lips slowly raised, the deep pupil reflected Yen Mo's cool and handsome, and some of his eyes were more dark and surreal. There are more things that you don't expect, and there's still more to come. He spoke slowly, his voice was cold and harsh as if it had been mixed with ice. Yen Mo Li's heart suddenly jumps. He is sure to win now, but he is a little uneasy. Yen Beiqing, up to now, there is no room for turning around. Don't be paranoid. Then he looked at General Chen behind him. General Chen, it seems that your people are not doing their best. Don't forget what we promised you. General Chen bowed his head slightly and said respectfully, yes. Then he turned his head and pulled a soldier to tell him, go and remove the people from the 13 Princes' mansion, and come as soon as possible. Yen Mo Li's heart is a little fixed, only cold eyes looking at the besieged in the middle of Yenbei City. The blood around and the scream have nothing to do with him. Although his grandfather Donglin Hao was in a high position, he was old after all. Baorong Emperor didn't want to hand over most of the military power to her. He only handed over the imperial guards to him, and his uncle General Lin was stationed in the frontier. He was really in power. This General Chen is just managing the imperial army with Zhao Wei. If it wasn't for the major plan, Yen Moli would not make a promise. He would certainly be used by him in the future and would not be suppressed. However, I'm afraid he can't imagine what a monstrous plot is brewing in his heart when he looks at such a respectful General Chen. 1,000 bodyguards were soon transferred, and 3,000 bodyguards against more than 300 people were a battle with no chance of winning. The people trained by Yenbei City can always fight against 10 with 1, but they can't fight for a long time. More and more people fall down. The blue stone ground of the palace is stained red by strong and dazzling blood. The broken limbs and debris on the ground can be seen everywhere. A thick smell of blood in the air flows into the nose, which makes people feel extremely uncomfortable. Qinya had never seen such a situation before. She had a white smile and grasped Demo Ling's sleeve tightly. She felt a sense of vomiting in her chest. Even under such circumstances, Yen Sichuan's face, which was slightly morbid, became pale. His hands were tightly clasped, and the unbearable hardship in his eyes did not dissipate for a moment. Yen Beiqing lowered his eyes and watched his own people being killed like this. How could he not feel uncomfortable in his heart? Just wait. Just wait. She will come back safely. Mo Shanghua is ready to put the knife on Zhao Wei's neck if he doesn't agree. At the moment, Zhao Wei, who is still waiting, is silent. I don't know how long I've been waiting, but I can't control my anxiety when I get to Mo Shanghua. I've just been sent out a small group of guards, and only one of them has been helped up. His whole body's blood, then even talk is also angry, voice is very small. The imperial palace strengthened, we showed a little doubt, then was directly killed. This will prove that the imperial city is indeed in chaos. Zhao Wei suddenly pulled out his sword, and his eyes were almost frozen. Take him down. The rest of us will listen to the command of our general now. Only 2,000 will be left. The rest, 3,000, will follow me into the city immediately. He was promoted by Emperor Baorong. He is loyal to Emperor Baorong. He can't bear it now. Yes, the sonorous and powerful voices of all the officers and men rang out. The flowers on the street always seem indifferent. In fact, There is a huge stone hanging in my heart. Now I see that Zhao Wei is finally moved, and a heart falls back. General, I think we'd better go first. Before the end of the sentence, 2 soldiers who were mixed with the soldiers suddenly drew their swords and rushed to the flowers on the street. 2 soldiers left and right attack. 2 knives will be straight toward the flower cut. Even when Zhao Wei saw this, his pupils suddenly shrank. Unexpectedly, he took a step too slowly. However, Emo Xiaohua's skill has always been vigorous, but in a moment, she bent down at an unbelievable angle and then jumped to the wall. Before the 2 soldiers could react, they just felt a flower in front of them, and they were directly attacked by her 2 hands. Zhao Wei has already been walking to half of the steps, suddenly stopped down, sink eyes, take these 2 people down. As soon as the words came down, some soldiers came forward and held the 2 men down, took a stroll on the lower abdomen, and then jumped down and landed on the ground. If I hadn't guessed wrong, the 2 must be the eyeliner. Zhao Wei calm face slightly nodded. Now the situation is urgent, there is no time to interrogate, immediately put these 2 people in custody. After a pause, Zhao Wei said, Princess, the last general will go to the palace first now. If the princess has nowhere to go, she can wait here and will be protected. His address has completely changed at the moment, and his recognition of Emo Xiaohua is also from his heart. A woman who is so brave, resourceful and courageous is much better than more men. When Emo Xiaohua shakes her head slightly, and her eyes are fixed on him. I must go with you, and I must go to you palace first. Zhao Wei's face hesitated. He thought deeply in his eyes, but now it's your majesty who is in danger. If you don't go to the palace immediately, I'm afraid things will change. There are 3,000 imperial guards in the palace, and the remaining 3,000 imperial guards are all in King Yu's mansion now. If they don't exterminate first, there will be endless trouble in the future. Think of now or be besieged in Yuangfu Yanbei City, Mo Shanghua heart hard contraction up, besides, if not timely rescue, the kingdom of God is really no successor. Zhao Wei frowned and thought deeply, then nodded to the flowers on the street. I will understand. All the officers and men will go to King Yu's house immediately after hearing the order. At that time, Yan Beiqing, Yan Sinshuan and others had been protected and retreated into the inner hall. The dark guards around had been killed and injured for more than half, and they are still protected in the inner hall. Qin Yi didn't get hurt at all. Instead, Mo Ling suffered many injuries on her legs in order to protect him. However, she still obeyed Yan Beiqing's words and kept her behind. Qin Yi's eyes were red with tears, full of remorse and worry, but she couldn't do anything at the moment, so she could only shrink behind him and look at Yan Moli with hatred. Yan Beiqing and Yan Sinshuan are not much better at the moment. Yan Beiqing is highly skilled in martial arts, and there are people fighting to protect each other. They are all right, but their hair is messy and they are in a state of confusion. Yan Sinshuan has no martial arts skills to speak of. He has always been weak. He is also in a mess at the moment, but because he is well protected, he has no scars on his body. However, the images in front of him are enough to make him remember for half of his life. If you have a cup of tea, there is no solution to this dilemma. Mo Ling, you will protect Yan Sinshuan and Qin Yi to leave. Yan Beiqing holds a long sword in his hand and looks at Yan Moli standing outside the hall. The war situation at that time was already clear. Now they have been forced into the inner hall. All the guards standing in the courtyard outside the hall are armed with sharp blades. They have been completely surrounded. With Yan Sinshuan's escort, there are only 300 dark guards. Now there are only more than 100 people left. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.